Hello guys, today we are going to watch what if Naruto has the rinnagan and trap Kaguya in the infinite void. And what will he do after that? And before going to the video, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe my channel. Now, let's back to the video.
Chapter 1. The event horizon. The gravity was a physical weight, a heavy blanket of iron that pressed the air out of lungs and forced blood to pool in the extremities. It was the sensation of drowning while standing on solid ground. Naruto Uzumaki lay face down in the dirt of the dim, violet-hued dimension, his fingers digging into the rocky soil. His heart hammered against his ribs, a frantic drumbeat that seemed too loud in the oppressive silence. Beside him, Sasuke Uchiha was struggling to his knees, his left eye bleeding, the tomo of his rinnagan spinning sluggishly. They were losing. It wasn't a matter of effort. It wasn't a matter of spirit. They were fighting a concept, not a ninja. Kaguya Otsutsuki hovered above them, her white robes unblemished, her pale eyes devoid of anything resembling humanity. She was a ghost of the past that refused to be exorcised, and she wielded the world like a weapon. Naruto. The voice was faint. Naruto turned his head, the simple motion requiring a surge of chakra just to fight the crushing gravity. Obito Uchiha lay a few meters away. His body was beginning to flake away, turning to ash. The all-killing ash bones had struck true. He wasn't screaming. He wasn't crying. He was just fading. "Don't make that face," Obito rasped, a small, bloody smile touching his lips. "It's a pathetic look for a future Hokage." "Obito." Naruto grit his teeth, forcing his limbs to move, crawling toward the man who had started this war and was now ending it. "Hold on. I can, my young power, I can fix, you can't," Obito cut him off. The ash had already claimed his legs. "This isn't damage. It's decay. It's entropy." He looked up at the sky, where Kaguya was raising a palm, a massive sphere of chaotic chakra forming above her, the expansive truth-seeker orb. It was growing, eating the dimension itself. "She's going to erase it all," Obito whispered. "This dimension. The elemental nations. Your friends." Naruto slammed his fist into the ground. "I know. But we can't get close. Her gravity, her chakra, it's too thick." Obito's hand, now crumbling at the fingertips, reached out. He didn't aim for Naruto's hand. He aimed for his chest. "Kakashi and I, we were always late," Obito murmured. His Sharingan eyes spun wildly, bleeding into the Manjikyu pattern one last time. "But maybe I can push you forward." Kamui. It wasn't a teleportation. It wasn't a phase. Obito didn't try to move Naruto. Instead, he poured everything, his remaining life force, the residual Ten-Tails chakra still clinging to his cells, and the spiritual potency of the Uchiha bloodline, directly into Naruto's seal. "Take it," Obito coughed, his torso disintegrating. "The eyes see the truth. But you need to see beyond it." Obito. "Become the wall she cannot break, Naruto." With a soft sound like scattered sand, Obito Uchiha collapsed into dust. Naruto froze. The grief was there, sharp and hot, but it was instantly overwhelmed by something else. A surge. A violent, roaring cataract of energy flooded his system. It wasn't just chakra. It was perspective. Inside his mindscape, Kurama roared, his massive tails thrashing as the influx of Uchiha's spiritual energy mixed with the six paths senjutsu. The two opposing forces, Senju and Uchiha, Ashura and Indra, life and eyes, crashed together. Usually, this mixture results in the rinnagan. But Naruto was not an Uchiha. He was an Uzumaki, a container of vast vitality, and he was currently steeped in the raw nature energy of a dimension that defied physics. Something snapped. It wasn't a sound. It was a sensation of a lock breaking in the center of his brain. Above them, Kaguya frowned. "The insect has ceased moving." "Finish him, mother," Black Zetsu hissed from her sleeve. before he tries something unpredictable. Kaguya descended. She didn't fall, she lowered the elevation of her existence. She pointed a bone-tipped finger at the prone boy. Die. A singular ash bone fired. It broke the sound barrier instantly, a gray streak of absolute death aimed between Naruto's shoulder blades. Sasuke shouted, "Naruto!" He tried to swap places with his Amenotejikara, but his eye was overused, the cooldown hadn't reset. He could only watch. The bone pierced the air. It reached the space 10 meters from Naruto. Then 5. Then 1. And then, it stopped. No, it didn't stop. Sasuke narrowed his eyes, his Sharingan tracking the movement. The bone was still traveling. It was spinning, carrying kinetic energy, pushing forward with lethal intent. But it wasn't getting any closer. It was traveling through the space, but the space itself seemed to be dividing infinitely. The closer it got to Naruto's skin, the slower it appeared to move, traversing half the remaining distance, then half of that, then half of that. Zeno's paradox made manifest. Naruto stood up. The gravity that had pinned him to the floor moments ago seemed to slide off his shoulders. He didn't struggle. He didn't brace himself. He simply rose, dusting off his knees with a calm that was more terrifying than any rage. He turned to face the goddess. Sasuke drew a sharp breath. Naruto's blue eyes were gone. In their place were eyes of devastating complexity. They were blue, crystalline, but rippled with the concentric rings of the rinnagan. Yet, unlike Sasuke's or Madara's, these rings were not static. They seemed to shift and rotate like the gears of a celestial clock, glowing with a white luminescence. "You," Kaguya said, her voice echoing with a rare tint of confusion. "What did you do?" Naruto tilted his head. The world looked different. He didn't just see chakra networks anymore. He saw the grid. He saw the mathematical coordinates of the air, the curvature of the gravity well, the vectors of the incoming wind. He saw the ash bone suspended in the infinite series of numbers near his chest. "I learned," Naruto said. His voice didn't boom. It carried. It cut through the roaring wind of the expansive truth-seeker orb like a razor. He tapped the ash bone with his index finger. The technique, a weapon capable of killing gods, shattered into harmless dust. It hadn't decayed, the information holding it together had been overwritten. "Learned what?" Black Zetsu screeched. "You are a pest. A battery of chakra. You cannot comprehend Mother's power." Naruto looked up. For the first time, he didn't look like a teenager. He looked ancient. "I learned that there is no distance," Naruto said softly. "Only the space we choose to define." He took a step. One moment, he was on the ground. The next, he was standing directly in front of Kaguya, hovering in the air without wings, without chakra platforms. He stood on the coordinates themselves. Kaguya's eyes widened. Her Byakugan had 360-degree vision, yet she hadn't seen him move. There was no trajectory. He had simply deleted the space between point A and point B, begone. Kaguya shrieked. 80 gods vacuum attack. Chakra fists, massive enough to pulverize mountains, materialized from the ether. They launched at Naruto from every angle, a bombardment of pure violence. Sasuke watched, paralyzed by awe. He has to dodge. Even with that speed, he has to. Naruto didn't dodge. He raised one hand, palm open, fingers splayed. Limitless. The fists collided with an invisible barrier inches from Naruto's skin. The impacts were cataclysmic, creating shockwaves that tore the ground apart below them, but Naruto remained untouched. The attacks were hitting the infinity that surrounded him, an endless stretch of space compressed into a thin aura. The harder Kaguya hit, the more space she had to traverse. She was punching into an abyss. "Impossible," Kaguya whispered. "Is it?" Naruto asked. He clenched his fist. The space around Kaguya warped. It twisted. Blue. Naruto didn't say the name of the technique, but the chakra flared a brilliant, electric blue. He amplified the attraction force of the universe. Kaguya was yanked forward. Not by gravity, but by the reality correcting a negative vacuum Naruto had created. She flew toward his fist. Naruto punched her. It wasn't a normal punch. It was a collision of distorted space. When his knuckles connected with her jaw, the sound was like a thunderclap inside a cathedral. Kaguya, the progenitor of chakra, was launched backward, crashing through 3 distinct mountain ranges before skidding to a halt. Silence descended on the gravity dimension. Kakashi, who had been watching from the shelter of a Susanoo remnant, lowered his mask, his mouth agape. Sasuke, what is that? Sasuke stared at his rival. He felt a cold sweat on his neck. That isn't ninjutsu, Kakashi. Ninjutsu manipulates the elements. Fire, wind, lightning. He watched Naruto float casually toward the rising dust cloud. That is the manipulation of reality. He's bending the laws of physics. Kaguya erupted from the rubble. She was furious now. Her hair whipped around her like a living nest of vipers. She had never been struck like that. Not by her sons. Not by any mortal. I will absorb you, she screamed. She shifted dimensions. The world shattered like glass. The heavy gravity vanished, replaced by the searing heat of the lava dimension. Magma bubbled below, and the air smelled of sulfur and death. Kaguya hoped the environment would kill him. Naruto didn't even blink. He hovered over the lava, the heat unable to cross the infinity to reach his skin. Changing the scenery won't help, Naruto called out. He sounded bored. Why did he sound bored? He realized, with a start, that his brain was processing information so fast that the world felt like it was in slow motion. He could count the droplets of lava bursting from the lake below. You possess Hagoromo's chakra, Kaguya snarled, creating a portal behind him. She reached through, her hand glowing with the power to steal chakra. Give it back. She grabbed him. Or she tried to. Her hand stopped inches from his neck. She strained, her veins bulging, but she could not close the distance. Naruto turned slowly in the air. He looked at her hand, clawing uselessly at the infinite space. You're greedy, Naruto said. You want everything. All the chakra. All the world. He lifted his hand, his thumb and middle finger crossing. I think you've had enough. Kaguya sensed it. A primal fear, something she hadn't felt in a millennia. It was the feeling of being a small animal under the shadow of a hawk. Sasuke. Naruto's voice cut across the dimension. Get ready to seal the husk. I'm going to turn off her mind. Turn off her. Sasuke didn't finish the question. He prepared the Chibaku Tensei Moon seal, trusting Naruto's insanity. Naruto took a deep breath. The rinnagan in his eyes spun so fast they became blurred rings of light. He wasn't channeling chakra into a ball. He was channeling it into the environment. He was overriding the lava dimension with his own inner world. Domain expansion, Naruto whispered. The lava vanished. The heat vanished. The sky vanished. They were nowhere. It was a void of pure white, yet it was filled with lines of black static. It was a space of contradictions. It felt endless, yet claustrophobic. Kaguya froze. She couldn't move a finger. She couldn't blink. She couldn't mold chakra. What is this? Her thought was sluggish, taking eons to form. Naruto stood before her. He wasn't glowing anymore. He looked like a normal boy in a tattered orange jumpsuit, but his presence filled the entire universe. This is the infinite void, Naruto said, his voice echoing from everywhere at once. He walked closer to the paralyzed goddess. Inside this barrier, the information you receive is endless, he explained, almost apologetically. You can see everything. You can feel everything. The birth of a star, the movement of an atom, the color of a sound. Your brain is receiving infinite stimuli every instant. Kaguya's eyes were wide, twitching rapidly. Tears of blood began to stream down her pale cheeks. She was being tortured by perception. She was seeing the life cycle of the universe in a nanosecond, over and over again. Because you see everything, Naruto murmured, placing his hand gently on her forehead, you can do nothing. It was the ultimate stalemate. To act, one must focus. In the infinite void, focus was impossible. She was drowning in a sea of data. Black Zetsu, hiding in her sleeve, screamed as the effect hit him too. I can't, too much, stop it, stop the noise. Naruto looked at the black sludge. Goodbye. He pulsed a wave of chaotic chakra into Zetsu, obliterating the will of Kaguya instantly. The sludge dissolved into nothingness. Naruto looked back at Kaguya. She was catatonic. A statue made of flesh and godhood. Sasuke. Now. Naruto dropped the domain. Reality rushed back in, the lava dimension returned with a roar of heat and noise. Kaguya fell from the sky, limp, her eyes open but seeing nothing. Her mind was still rebooting, trying to process the infinity she had just witnessed. Sasuke was there. He didn't hesitate. He touched his palm to Kaguya's left shoulder while Naruto, moving instantly, touched his palm to her right. Sun and moon. Yin and yang. 6 paths, Chibaku Tensei. The earth responded. The lava hardened. Rocks flew from the crust of the dimension, drawn to Kaguya with magnetic fury. She didn't scream. She didn't fight back. She was still lost in the void. Rock piled upon rock. Layers of strata slammed together, compressing the rabbit goddess into a sphere of stone. It rose higher and higher, breaching the atmosphere of the dimension, becoming a new moon in a red sky. Naruto floated back down to the only solid ledge remaining. He stumbled, his knees hitting the rock. The rings in his eyes faded, returning to cerulean blue. But the pupil remained a slit, Kurama's influence, and the depth of his gaze was still unnerving. Kakashi and Sakura, who had woken from the genjutsu of the sheer pressure, ran to him. Naruto! Sakura yelled, glowing with medical chakra. Are you okay? Your chakra network, it's flickering like crazy. Naruto looked at his hands. They were trembling. I'm okay, Sakura-chan. My head just hurts. That was a lie. His head didn't hurt. His head felt like it was on fire. He could still see the math. He could see the electrons dancing in the air around Sakura's hair. He closed his eyes, squeezing them shut to block out the data. It's over, Sasuke said, landing beside them. He looked up at the new moon. She's sealed. And this time, she isn't coming back. Her mind, you broke it. Sasuke turned his gaze to Naruto. There was no rivalry in his look right now. Only caution. Naruto. What was that technique? Naruto rubbed his temples. I don't know, Sasuke. I understood how to stop her. I made a space where she couldn't exist. You made a space where nothing could exist, Sasuke corrected. We need to go home, Kakashi said, sensing the tension. Hagoromo summoned the Kage. They're waiting in the real world. Naruto nodded. Yeah. Home. But as Hagoromo's spirit pulled them from the dimension, summoning them back to the battlefield of the Fourth Great Ninja War, Naruto felt a chill. He had touched the fabric of the universe. He had pulled on a thread. And somewhere, in the deep, dark vastness of the cosmos, he felt something turn its head to look at him. The return was meant to be a celebration. The sun was rising over the battlefield. The massive roots of the god tree were withering. The cocoons of the infinite Tsukimi were opening, spilling confused and groggy ninja onto the ground. The spirits of the previous Kage floated in the air, Hagoromo Otsutsuki floating in the center. "Welcome back," the Sage of Six Paths said, his wizened face smiling. "You have saved the world." Naruto landed on the rocky ground. He should have been cheering. He should have been jumping up and down. But he stood still. The noise of the returning armies was deafening. Thousands of voices crying out in relief, reunions, weeping for the dead. Naruto winced. Too loud. The sound wasn't just audio. He could see the sound waves rippling through the air. He could feel the vibration of every footstep on the tectonic plate. Naruto. He opened his eyes. Hinata Hyuga was standing there. She looked exhausted, dirt smudged on her cheek, but her lavender eyes were wide with relief. She took a step toward him. "Naruto-kun, you did it." Naruto forced a smile. It felt stiff. "Yeah, Hinata. We did it." She paused. The Byakugan was active. She stared at him, and her expression shifted from relief to horror. Your chakra," she whispered. "What is it?" Kakashi asked, stepping forward. "It's not flowing," Hinata stammered. "It's vibrating. It's everywhere. He doesn't have a chakra network anymore. His entire body is a singular point of heavy gravity." Sasuke stepped in between them. "Give him space." The 5 Kage approached. Gaara, the Raikage, the Tsuchikage, the Mizukage, and Tsunade. They looked at the heroes. They looked at the floating moon where Kaguya was entombed. "The war is over." Tsunade shouted, raising her fist. A roar went up from the crowd. But the Raikage, didn't cheer. He was looking at Naruto. He was looking at the way the dust on the ground seemed to repel away from Naruto's boots, leaving a perfect circle of cleanliness around him. "Uzumaki," the Raikage grunted. "Your eyes." Naruto blinked. He hadn't realized he had reactivated them. The blue rinnagan with the shifting gears. "Turn them off, kid," the Raikage said, his tone heavy. "You're scaring the civilians." Naruto concentrated. He tried to pull the power back. He tried to dim the lights. He couldn't. Naruto swallowed. "I can't." The silence that rippled out from their circle was instantaneous. "What do you mean you can't?" The Tsuchikage floated closer. "The war is done. Power down." "It's not a mode," Sasuke said quietly. "It's an evolution." Naruto looked at his hands. He felt the limitless barrier humming around his skin. It was automatic now. His brain had assessed that the world was dangerous, and it refused to lower the shields. He looked up at the Kage. For a split second, he calculated exactly how to dismantle them. Raikage, 0.04 seconds to intercept. Weakness, elbow joint lightning tether. Gaara, 0.12 seconds. Weakness, sand density manipulation. Tsunade, irrelevant speed. Non-factor. Naruto shook his head violently to clear the thoughts. "Stop it. These are friends. These are allies." "I need to go," Naruto said abruptly. "Go where?" Tsunade asked. "Naruto, we have to debrief." "We have to, I need quiet." Naruto snapped. The shout released a pulse of pure gravity. Boom. The ground beneath him shattered in a spiderweb fracture extending 50 meters. The Kage were knocked off their feet. Tsunade skidded backward. Gaara's sand wall rose automatically but was crushed instantly by the pressure. Naruto hovered in the center of the crater, horrified. He hadn't meant to attack. He had just felt annoyed. A fleeting emotion had translated into a kinetic shockwave. He looked at Hinata. She had been blown back, caught by Niji, who was alive in this timeline. No, Niji was dead. She was caught by Kiba. She looked at him with fear. Not awe. Fear. That look broke something in Naruto's heart that the war hadn't managed to touch. "I'm sorry," Naruto whispered. He jumped. He didn't use chakra to boost his legs. He simply warped the space. 1 second he was in the crater, the next he was a dot in the stratosphere, vanishing into the clouds. Sasuke watched him go. "He's dangerous," the Raikage growled, dusting himself off. "That power, it's not Jinchuriki power. That's something else. If he loses control." "He won't," Sasuke said. But his hand was resting on the hilt of his sword. "He just attacked the Kaguya," that Tsuchikage yelled. "He panicked," Gaara said, his voice calm. "He is overwhelmed. We need countermeasures," the Raikage insisted. "Sasuke Uchiha. You are the only one who can match him. If the Uzumaki goes rogue." "He won't go rogue," Kakashi interrupted, his voice steel. "He's the hero of the leaf." "He's a god," the Mizukage corrected softly. "And gods are unpredictable." High above them, in the thin air of the upper atmosphere, Naruto floated. He hugged his knees to his chest. The silence here was better. The air was thin. "Kurama?" He called out internally. "I'm here, Naruto," the fox replied. The great beast sounded tired. "That technique, it took a toll. Your chakra coils are burnt out. You're running on pure natural energy now." "I can't turn it off, Kurama. I see everything. I see the curve of the planet. I see the satellites." "You ascended," Kurama said bluntly. "You touched the realm of the sage, and you went a step further. You have to learn to control it. Or you will crush everything you try to hold." Naruto looked down at his hands. The hands that had wanted to hold Hinata. The hands that wanted to eat ramen. They looked like the hands of a stranger. "I just wanted to be Hokage," Naruto whispered to the empty sky. The wind howled in response, carrying the cold whisper of the coming winter. The war was over. The age of the god had begun. Chapter 2, The Weight of the Crown. The land of iron was neutral ground, a nation of snow and samurai where the chakra of shinobi was viewed with polite suspicion. It was the only place political protocol deemed safe enough for the emergency summit. The war had technically ended 48 hours ago. The smoke had barely cleared from the battlefields, and the dead were not yet buried, but the living were already arguing about the future. Inside the great hall, a cavernous structure of stone and timber, the air was stifling. A long table dominated the room. On one side sat the 5 Kaguya, battered, bandaged, and weary. On the other sat the feudal lords, the daimyos, dressed in pristine silks that seemed obscenely bright against the drab fatigue of the soldiers. "It is a weapon," the earth daimyo said, his fan snapping shut with a sharp clack. "Let us not mince words. We are grateful the monster was defeated, yes. But you have replaced one monster with another." Gaara, the Kazekage, sat with his arms crossed. His sand gourd was cracked, a testament to the battle, but his eyes were sharp. "Naruto Uzumaki is a hero. He is a shinobi of the leaf. He is not a weapon to be stored in an armory. He destroyed a mountain range by sneezing," the lightning daimyo shouted, slamming a fist onto the table. He turned to the Raikage. You saw it. You reported it. The boy attacked the leadership. He had a panic attack, Kakashi Hatake said from his seat. He wasn't Hokage officially yet, Tsunade was still in the chair, but everyone knew the torch was passing. Kakashi looked tired, his mask hiding his expression, but his singular dark eye was cold. He has just utilized power that defies our understanding of physics. He is adjusting. Adjusting? The fire daimyo squeaked. He was a small, nervous man who usually deferred to Konoha, but fear had made him bold. He is a nuclear deterrent that breathes. If he has a bad dream, does my capital vanish? If he gets angry at a grocer, does the gravity crush the marketplace? Tsunade rubbed her temples. She hadn't slept in 3 days. Naruto is loyal. His dream is to protect the village. That was before he became a god, the Earth Daimyo countered smoothly. Power changes perspective, Hokage. When you are an ant, you fear the boot. When you are the boot, you cease to notice the ants. We are the ants now. The silence that followed was heavy. It was the truth no one wanted to admit. The balance of power, the delicate deadlock between the 5 great nations, was gone. There was no balance. There was Naruto, and there was everyone else. We propose restrictions, the Lightning Daimyo said. A containment seal. A barrier team monitoring him 24/7. And he must not leave Konoha without international consent. You want to put a leash on him? Tsunade laughed, a dry, humorless sound. Good luck. You saw him. He bends space. What chain do you think will hold him? If you cannot control your soldier, the Earth Daimyo whispered, leaning forward, then perhaps he is a threat to global stability. And threats must be neutralized. The atmosphere in the room shifted instantly. The killing intent from the 5 Kage flared up, a collective pressure that made the samurai guards at the walls grip their katana hilts. Careful, the Reikage rumbled. You are speaking of killing the savior of the world. I am speaking of survival, the Earth Daimyo replied, undeterred. Miles away, in a quarantined medical pavilion set up on the snowy plains, Sasuke Uchiha stood over a fissure in the earth. This was where Naruto had landed after his descent from the atmosphere. The snow for 50 meters around the landing zone was gone, not melted, but displaced. The ground was perfectly smooth, compressed into obsidian by sheer localized gravity. Sasuke's left eye, the rinnagan, throbbed. He ignored the pain. He was looking at the residual energy signatures. Usually, chakra left a trace. Fire left heat, lightning left ozone. But this was different. The trace Naruto had left behind looked like static. It was a distortion in the fabric of the world. He's not just using chakra, Sasuke muttered to himself. He's calculating coordinates. He crouched, touching the black glass of the ground. During the fight with Kaguya, Sasuke had seen it. Naruto hadn't just overpowered her. He had processed information faster than a god. The limitless ability wasn't just a shield, it was a supercomputer running in Naruto's brain. If he keeps it active, Sasuke thought, it will fry his synapses. He'll burn out. A shadow fell over him. Sasuke didn't turn. He knew the chakra signature. You should be at the summit, Sasuke said. Sakura Haruno stepped up beside him. She was wearing a heavy winter cloak over her medical nin garb. She looked pale. They kicked me out, she said. Only Kaguya and lords allowed. Plus. I wanted to check on him. But the barrier team won't let anyone near the medical tent. Is he awake? Yes. But he's not speaking. Sakura hugged herself against the wind. Sasuke-kun, his vitals. I saw the chart. His heart rate is resting at 30 beats per minute. His brain activity is off the charts. It's like he's meditating and sprinting a marathon at the same time. Sasuke stood up, brushing snow from his cloak. He's maintaining the infinity. It filters everything. Sound, light, touch. He's afraid if he turns it off, the sensory overload will crush him. We have to help him, Sakura said, her voice trembling. We can't, Sasuke said. Not yet. He has to realize that the power is a tool, not a state of being. He looked toward the horizon, where the purple flags of the summit hall snapped in the wind. Besides, Sasuke added, his eyes narrowing. I found something else here. In the distortion. What? When Kaguya disappeared, when Naruto opened that void, something looked back. Sasuke looked up at the gray sky. This power didn't come from Hagoromo. It came from a deviation. An error in the code. And I think the universe has an immune system. Inside the medical isolation tent, it was dead silent. Naruto sat in the center of the room on a simple cot. He was cross-legged, his hands resting on his knees. He was wearing a fresh black kimono someone had left for him, the orange jumpsuit finally retired, ruined in the war. He was counting. 1, 2, 3. He watched a dust mote floating in the air. To a normal eye, it was just drifting. To Naruto, he saw the thermal currents pushing it. He calculated its trajectory. He knew exactly where it would land in 3 hours. 4. 5. The world was so loud. Even with the limitless filter up, blocking the physical sensation of the air, the cold, the sound, the information still leaked through. His brain was hungry. It devoured data. Stop it, he told himself. Just breathe. He focused on his own heartbeat. He visualized the valves opening and closing. Outside the tent, he sensed 12 chakra signatures approaching. They weren't the standard perimeter guards. Their chakra was suppressed, tight, and sharp. Killing intent masked behind discipline. Naruto didn't move. He didn't open his eyes. 12 hostiles. Vector approach, north and east. Speed, high Jonin level. Elemental affinities, earth and lightning. The tent flap ripped open. There was no shout. No dramatic declaration. Just efficiency. For kunai flew at his head. Attached to the hilts were explosive tags, but modified ones, implosion tags used by hidden cloud hunterine to destroy bodies without leaving a mess. The kunai flew through the air. They crossed the room in 0.2 seconds. They stopped 3 inches from Naruto's nose. They didn't hit a wall. They simply slowed down infinitely. They hung there, suspended in the paradox, vibrating as their kinetic energy failed to cross the divide between almost there and there. Naruto opened his eyes. The blue rings of his eyes spun slowly. Explode, a voice commanded from the doorway. The tags detonated. Boom. The tent shredded instantly. Fire and pressure expanded outward, incinerating the cot, the medical supplies, and the ground. Outside, the assassin team, a mix of rogue stone ninja and radical cloud loyalists who refused to accept a leaf supremacy, landed in a circle around the burning wreckage. Target confirmed hit, the leader, a masked man with a stone headband, said. Implosion concentrated. He's gone. The smoke cleared. Naruto was still sitting in the air. He was hovering a foot off the ground, in the exact same cross-legged position. The fire raged around him but curved away, leaving a perfect sphere of untouched space around his body. The ashes of the tent drifted around him like snow. He looked bored. That was rude, Naruto said. The leader's eyes widened. Second wave. Particle style. 3 stone ninja stepped forward. They formed a triangle with their hands. This was Inoki's technique, stolen and taught to an elite death squad. Dust release, detachment of the primitive world. A beam of white light, a geometric cylinder of molecular destruction, fired at Naruto. It was designed to disassemble matter at the atomic level. It couldn't be blocked. Naruto didn't block it. He raised his hand. Red. He flicked his finger upward. A small orb of red chakra manifested on his fingertip, the reversal of the blue attraction. This was reversal. Repulsion. Divergence. The particle style beam hit the red orb. Instead of disintegrating Naruto, the beam split. It refracted, bending around him like water hitting a stone, and shot back toward the casters. What? The 3 stone ninja were vaporized instantly by their own jutsu. No scream. Just a sudden absence of existence. The remaining 9 assassins froze. This wasn't combat. This was an execution. Naruto uncrossed his legs and placed his feet on the scorched earth. He walked forward. "I'm tired," Naruto said. His voice was flat, lacking the usual warmth. "I haven't slept in 3 days because every time I close my eyes, I see the math of the universe." He stopped in front of the leader. The assassin drew a sword, channeling lightning chakra. "Die, monster." He swung. The blade moved fast, faster than the eye could follow. Naruto didn't dodge. He let the blade come. It hit the infinity. The assassin pushed, veins bursting on his forehead, but the sword wouldn't connect. It was like pushing against the concept of no. Naruto reached out and took the blade. He didn't grab the handle, he grabbed the sharp edge. His skin didn't bleed. The metal groaned, then shattered. "Go home," Naruto said. We can't," the assassin stuttered, terror finally breaking his discipline. "The orders, the daimyos." "Ah." Naruto tilted his head. "The daimyos." He looked toward the great hall in the distance. He could sense them there. The fear. The plotting. "I see." Naruto vanished. The argument in the great hall had devolved into a shouting match. The Raikage was holding the Earth Daimyo by the collar, while Gaara was trying to separate them. "This is treason," the Earth Daimyo sputtered. "I am your lord." "You are a fool inviting a massacre," the Raikage roared. The heavy oak doors of the great hall didn't open. They disintegrated. Splinters of wood and iron exploded inward, not from an explosion, but from a sheer pressure wave. The wind howled into the room, extinguishing the torches. Naruto walked in. He walked past the samurai guards, who were too paralyzed by the sudden heaviness of the air to draw their weapons. He walked past the stunned Kage. He stopped at the head of the table. He looked at the Earth Daimyo. "You sent them," Naruto said. It wasn't a question. The Earth Daimyo trembled. I acted for the good of the nations. You are unchecked power. You are." Naruto placed one finger on the table. Creak. The massive oak table, solid wood 4 inches thick, groaned. A spiderweb fracture appeared under his finger and raced down the length of the wood, splitting the table perfectly in half between the Kage and the daimyos. "I am not a weapon," Naruto said softly. The acoustics of the room amplified his voice so it sounded like he was whispering directly into everyone's ear. "And I am not a monster. I am a ninja who is very, very tired." He looked at the Fire Daimyo, the lord of his own land. "You want to restrict me?" Naruto asked. "And no. Never." "Naruto-kun," the man squealed. "You can't," Naruto corrected him. "That's the reality. You cannot seal me. You cannot imprison me. If I wanted to, I could expand my domain and place this entire continent into a stasis where a single second lasts for 1,000 years." The room was deathly quiet. Even Sasuke, who had slipped in through the broken doors, watched with intense focus. "But I don't want to do that," Naruto continued. The rings in his eyes slowed their rotation. He looked sad. "I just want peace. The peace my master died for. The peace my parents died for." He looked at the Kage. "I will stay in Konoha. Not because you order me to, but because it is my home. I will not conquer your lands. But hear this." His chakra flared. For a moment, the shadow behind him didn't look like a fox. It looked like a halo of void. "If you send assassins again, if you try to hurt my friends to get to me, I will not be the Nanadame Hokage." He leaned in. I will be the thing you are afraid of. He straightened up, the pressure vanishing instantly. The air returned to the room. The daimyos gasped for breath. Now, Naruto said, rubbing the back of his neck, a flash of his old awkwardness returning. Is there any ramen? I'm starving. Later that night, the moon hung high and full, the natural moon, not the prison of Kaguya. Naruto sat on the roof of the temporary quarters assigned to Konoha. He had a bowl of instant ramen in his hands, but he wasn't eating. He was staring at the broth. Heat vectors. Convection currents. Salinity levels. Stop analyzing the soup, loser. Naruto cracked a smile. He didn't turn around. Sasuke sat down next to him. You scared them, Sasuke said. The Earth Daimyo is already drafting a treaty. He's terrified. Good, Naruto said quietly. Fear keeps them from doing stupid things. For a while, at least. It's a lonely path, Sasuke noted. Rule by fear. It's not rule, Naruto said. It's a deterrent. I'm just buying time. For what? To figure out how to be human again. Naruto finally took a bite of the noodles. They tasted like numbers. He chewed mechanically. I can't feel the cold, Sasuke. The infinity blocks it. I can't feel the wind. We'll fix it, Sasuke said. We'll train. You need to learn to throttle the input. Right now, your brain is a door that's stuck open. Naruto nodded. He looked at Sasuke. Thanks for backing me up in there. I didn't do anything. You didn't try to kill me, Naruto joked. Sasuke smirked. Give it time. The banter was comfortable. It was the only thing that felt normal. Suddenly, Sasuke stiffened. He stood up, looking north. What is it? Naruto asked. He sensed it too. A ripple. Far to the north, in the direction of the land of snow, something had just arrived. It wasn't a meteor. It wasn't a jutsu. It was as if someone had taken an eraser and rubbed out a chunk of the atmosphere. Did you feel that? Sasuke asked. Yeah, Naruto said, standing up. His eyes shifted back to the rinnagan pattern. It felt like me. No, Sasuke corrected, his face grim. It felt like order. Naruto frowned. What do you mean? The chaotic chakra of the world, in that spot, it just became perfectly organized, Sasuke said. Nature energy doesn't do that naturally. Naruto clenched his fist. The sensation gave him a headache. It was a frequency that scratched at the back of his limitless barrier. Do we go check it out? Naruto asked. No, Sasuke said. You stay. You're the political target. If you leave now, the alliance crumbles. He adjusted his cape. I'll go. Sasuke. I'm the shadow, remember? Sasuke looked back over his shoulder. You be the god. Sit on your throne and scare the lords. I'll go see what fell from the sky. Sasuke vanished in a swirl of leaves. Naruto sat back down. He looked at the moon. Somewhere, miles away, a man in white robes was walking through a blizzard. He didn't leave footprints. He didn't shiver. He held a small notebook in his hand. He stopped at a village. He looked at a house. He scribbled something in the book. The house vanished. Not destroyed. Just, deleted. Correction made, the man whispered. Entropy reduced. Naruto felt a shiver run down his spine, a coldness that even the infinite void could not block. Chapter 3, Silence and Static. Konoha was a symphony of reconstruction. To anyone else, it was the inspiring sound of resilience. The rhythmic thwack 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 of hammers hitting nails, the rasp of saws cutting through timber, the shouts of men hauling stone to rebuild the Hokage monument. It was the music of life returning to normal. To Naruto Uzumaki, it was a drill boring directly into his skull. He walked through the main gates, his head lowered, the hood of his black cloak pulled deep over his eyes. He wasn't walking, he was ghosting over the cobblestones, his feet hovering a millimeter above the dust to avoid the sensory input of friction. Thwack! The sound of a hammer striking a beam 3 streets away rang in his ears like a gunshot. He winced, his eye twitching. Saw. Frequency, 440 Hz, wood density, low. Termite infestation detected in Sector 4. The data flooded his mind unbidden. The limitless technique, the bastardized child of the rinnagan and his own stubborn will, refused to shut down. It was a paranoid sentry, constantly analyzing the environment for threats that no longer existed. It calculated the structural integrity of the gate arch, failing, the wind speed, 12 knots, and the heart rates of the 2 Chunin guards, elevated, excited. "It's him," one of the guards shouted, abandoning his post. "Naruto. He's back." The shout was a physical blow. The sound waves hit Naruto's invisible barrier and were analyzed, deconstructed, and fed into his brain before he could even process the meaning of the words. A crowd began to form. They cheered. They threw flowers. Naruto saw the flowers. He saw the cellular structure of the petals. He saw the pollen count. He saw the velocity at which they were thrown. He calculated that if he didn't adjust his barrier, a rose thrown by an enthusiastic civilian would deflect off his infinity at terminal velocity and kill a bystander. He adjusted the math. The flowers hit the invisible wall and slid down gently, piling up around his floating feet. "Naruto-sama. Look here. Nanadame. Nanadame. Too much. Too loud." "Excuse me," Naruto muttered. He didn't look up. He couldn't. If he looked up, he would see the heat signatures of 1,000 people, and his brain would try to memorize them all. He blurred. It wasn't a body flicker. He simply folded the space between the gate and his apartment, or where his apartment used to be. It was a crater now. He reappeared in the only place that made sense. The forest of death. The forest was a tangled nightmare of giant centipedes, poisonous flora, and chakra-absorbing moss. It was dark, damp, and hostile. It was perfect. Naruto sat at the base of a massive iron-bark tree, deep in the infamous Zone 44. The canopy was so thick it blocked out the sun. The silence here was heavy, broken only by the slither of predators. He leaned his head back against the bark. The limitless barrier kept the rough wood from touching his skin. He was suspended in a cocoon of nothingness. He hadn't slept in 4 days. Every time he closed his eyes, the static came. White noise. Geometric shapes. The equation of the universe trying to solve itself. "Kurama." He thought, his mental voice ragged. "I'm trying, Kit," the fox grumbled from inside the seal. Kurama was acting as a secondary filter, trying to claw back some of the sensory overload, but even the tailed beast was struggling against the sheer weight of the input. "Your chakra network is lit up like a festival. The pathways aren't closing. The valve is broken. I need to sleep," Naruto whispered aloud. His voice cracked. A giant tiger, mutated by chakra, stalked out of the underbrush. It was 10 feet tall at the shoulder, with saber teeth the size of daggers. It growled, a low rumble that vibrated the ground. Naruto didn't open his eyes. Threat assessment, biological. Threat level, 0. The tiger pounced. Naruto didn't move. The tiger hit the barrier. It was like hitting a wall of diamond. The beast yelped, its nose crunched, and it bounced off, skidding into the dirt. It looked at the small human with confusion, then terror. It turned and fled. "Even the animals know I'm wrong," Naruto murmured. He pulled his knees to his chest. He was the most powerful being on the planet, and he was shivering, not from cold, but from the sheer exhaustion of existing. A twig snapped. It wasn't a predator. The step was too light, too controlled. Naruto's head snapped up. His eyes, the ring spinning lazily, locked onto the darkness. Go away, Kakashi-sensei. I'm not in the mood for a lecture. I am not Kakashi. The figure stepped into the small clearing. The gloom obscured her features, but the pale, lavender glow of her eyes cut through the dark. Hinata Hyuga. She wasn't wearing her flak jacket. She wore a simple training gi, dark blue, with bandages wrapped tight around her forearms. Her hair was tied back. She didn't look like the shy girl who used to faint. She looked like the heiress of the strongest clan in Konoha. Hinata, Naruto let out a breath. You shouldn't be here. The radiation from my chakra, it's heavy. I see it, Hinata said calmly. She activated her Byakugan fully. Veins bulged around her eyes. To her vision, Naruto was a blinding beacon. He wasn't just emitting chakra, he was warping the air around him. The limitless looked like a swirling vortex of white fire, a barrier that separated him from the rest of the world. And inside that fire, she saw his coils. They were inflamed. Swollen. Burning. You are in pain, she stated. I'm fine, Naruto lied. I just need quiet. You need to shut it off. I can't. Naruto snapped. The gravity in the clearing spiked. The trees groaned. Don't you think I've tried? It's stuck. It's like I'm holding up a mountain, and if I let go, it crushes me. Hinata walked toward him. Stay back, Naruto warned, holding out a hand. The barrier, it repels everything. If you touch it, it might hurt you. It messes with distance. You could lose a hand. Hinata didn't stop. She stopped 3 feet from him, right at the edge of his perception. The gentle fist, Hinata said softly, settling into her stance. It does not fight strength with strength. It targets the flow. Hinata, no. Byakugan. 8 trigrams. Her chakra flared. Twin lions of blue energy materialized around her fists. But they were different. They weren't roaring with aggression, they were humming with a soothing, oscillating frequency. Naruto-kun, she said, her voice steady. Trust me. Naruto looked at her. He saw the determination in her eyes. He calculated the odds of her success, 12%. He calculated the odds of her injury, 88%. It's too dangerous, he whispered. I am not asking for permission, she said. She struck. She didn't aim for his face. She aimed for the air in front of him. Her palms moved in a blur. 2 palms. 4 palms. 8 palms. She wasn't hitting him. She was hitting the barrier. Naruto's eyes widened. Every time her chakra-coated fingers struck the invisible wall of his infinity, she injected a microscopic needle of Hyuga chakra into the equation. She wasn't trying to break the wall, she was introducing a virus into the code. 16 palms. Hinata. Naruto gritted his teeth. The feedback loop in his brain stuttered. The static in his vision spiked, then wavered. 32 palms. She was moving faster now, dancing around him. Sweat flew from her brow. The resistance of the limitless was immense, it was like punching steel. Her knuckles were bleeding. Stop. You're hurting yourself. 64 palms. Hinata cried out. She drove her final 2 palms forward. She didn't strike the air. She stepped into the distortion. The logic of the limitless, the closer you get, the slower you go, fought her. But the gentle fist disrupted the chakra sustaining that logic. For a fraction of a second, she cancelled the technique at the point of contact. Her palm slammed into Naruto's chest. Thud. She hit his tenketsu. The chakra point responsible for the feedback loop to the brain. Silence. The white noise cut out. The geometric shapes vanished. The gravity normalized. The limitless barrier shattered like glass, dissolving into harmless sparks of blue light. Naruto gasped, air rushing into his lungs as if he had just surfaced from deep water. He slumped forward. Hinata caught him. She fell to her knees, pulling him down with her so his head rested on her lap. Her hands were trembling, blood dripping from her knuckles where the barrier had flayed the skin. Naruto blinked. His eyes were blue. Just blue. The rinnagan had deactivated. He looked up. He saw the leaves of the tree. He didn't calculate their photosynthesis rate. He just saw leaves. He heard a bird chirp. It was just a chirp. It's quiet, he whispered, tears pricking the corners of his eyes. I know, Hinata breathed, brushing a strand of dirty blonde hair from his forehead. Her hand was warm. He could feel the warmth. He hadn't felt warmth in days. Naruto reached up, his hand shaking, and grabbed her wrist. He needed to anchor himself. You broke it, he said, awe in his voice. How? I didn't break it, Hinata said, smiling tiredly. I just untied the knot. She looked down at him. There was no fear in her face. The daimyos feared him. The Kage worried about him. Even Sakura looked at him with clinical concern. Hinata just looked at him. You are too loud, Naruto-kun, she teased gently, a callback to their academy days, though her voice was thick with emotion. Naruto let out a laugh. It was a rusty, weak sound, but it was real. Yeah. I guess I am. He closed his eyes. The static didn't return. Just the darkness of sleep. Don't leave, he murmured, his consciousness fading rapidly. I won't, Hinata promised. She shifted, settling against the tree, guarding the sleeping god in her lap. For the first time since the war ended, Naruto Uzumaki slept without dreaming of math. The peace lasted exactly 6 hours. Naruto woke up to the smell of ozone and the sharp sensation of a chakra signature flaring nearby. He opened his eyes. He was still in the forest. Hinata was asleep sitting up, her head resting on his shoulder. He moved carefully, trying not to wake her, but she was a ninja, her eyes snapped open the moment he shifted. Naruto-kun. Someone's coming, Naruto said. His voice was clearer now. Rested. He stood up. He didn't activate the rinnagan immediately. He enjoyed the feeling of the dirt under his boots. A figure landed on a branch above them. An ANBU mask. A blank, white face. Sai, Naruto said. Sai hopped down. He looked at Naruto, then at Hinata, and his eyebrows raised slightly above his mask. Am I interrupting a date? The village gossip network will be thrilled. Report, Sai, Naruto said, his tone shifting to business. He felt the phantom itch of the limitless wanting to turn on, but he held it back. Emergency at the northern border of the land of fire, Sai said, his voice void of emotion but the urgency clear in his speed. Village of Tsuchigumo. A remnant of the god tree roots reactivated. It's absorbing the villagers. Naruto's eyes hardened. Zetsu. We don't know. It seems mindless. But it's growing fast. Kakashi-sensei deployed Team 8, but they can't hold it. The roots are regenerating too quickly. Naruto was already moving. I'll go. Wait, Hinata said, grabbing her flak jacket from where she had discarded it. I'm coming too. No, Naruto said, turning to her. You're exhausted. Your hands. He looked at her bruised knuckles. I can see the core of the roots, Hinata argued. You need eyes. Naruto hesitated. He looked at Sai. She's right, Sai said. Kiba and Shino are pinned down. We need the Byakugan to find the source. Naruto nodded once. Grab on. What? Sai asked. Naruto grabbed Sai's shoulder and Hinata's waist. Hold your breath. He didn't use the flying Raijin. He didn't have markers. He used the raw manipulation of space. He folded the map. Warp. The forest of death vanished. They reappeared in a scream of displaced air. The village of Tsuchigumo was a scene from a horror story. Huge, pale roots, thick as houses, were thrashing through the streets. They weren't just wood, they were fleshy, pulsating with stolen chakra. Civilians were running. Some were caught, wrapped in the smaller tendrils, their chakra being sucked out until they were husks. Kiba! Hinata shouted. Kiba and Akamaru were atop a roof, fighting a losing battle. Akamaru, huge and transformed into the two-headed wolf, was tearing at the roots, but for every one he ripped, two more grew. Shino's insects were swarming, but the roots were eating the bugs. Naruto! Kiba yelled, spotting them. About time. This thing won't die. Naruto let go of Sai and Hinata. He floated up. The urge to analyze took over. The rinnagan flared to life. The world turned into a grid again. Target, bioorganic construct. Source, subterranean. Depth, 40 meters. Regeneration rate, 400% per second. I see it, Naruto said coldly. It's hungry. Naruto-kun, be careful. Hinata warned from the ground. There are civilians trapped in the roots. I know. Naruto raised his hand. He needed to cut the roots. He needed a precision strike. Wind style, Raisin Shuriken. The familiar screech of the wind blade formed in his hand. But as he poured chakra into it, the limitless interfered. The technique didn't just spin, it began to incorporate the concept of repulsion. The blue sphere turned a violent, dark purple. Wait, Naruto thought. That's too much. But the jutsu was already formed. The density was critical. If he didn't throw it, it would explode in his hand. Get down! Naruto roared. He threw it. The purple raisin shuriken didn't fly, it deleted the air in its path. It struck the center of the root mass in the middle of the village. There was no explosion. No fire. Just a sphere of silence that expanded rapidly. The roots inside the sphere didn't burn. They vanished. The matter was repelled out of existence. The sphere grew, consuming the town square, the roots, the town hall, and half the mountain behind the village. Screech. The roots shrieked, a psychic sound of dying wood. Then, silence. The dust cleared. Where the village center had been, there was now a perfectly smooth, spherical crater, 50 meters deep. The roots were gone. The threat was neutralized. But so was the village's water tower. So was the mayor's house. Naruto floated down, landing in the center of the glass-smooth crater. Got it, he muttered. He looked up, expecting cheers. He saw Kiba staring at him, mouth open. He saw Shino's insects retreating in fear. He saw the villagers cowering. A mother was clutching her child, staring at Naruto not as a savior, but as a calamity. He wiped it away, someone whispered. Just like that. My shop. Another man wept. My home. Naruto froze. He had saved them. He had killed the monster. But he had used a cannon to kill a mosquito. Hinata slid down the side of the crater. She ran to him. Naruto-kun. I missed, Naruto said hollowly. I aimed for the roots. But the blast radius. I calculated it wrong. I added an extra variable. He looked at his hands. I can't control the output. It's all or nothing. I'm either a human, he clenched his fist, or I'm a nuke. Hinata took his hand. We will work on it. This is new power. You are relearning to walk. I almost killed them, Hinata, Naruto whispered, looking at the terrified family on the rim of the crater. If I had added one more decimal of rotation, that family would be gone. He pulled his hand away from hers gently. I need to go back to the forest, he said. I'm not safe to be around people. Not yet. Naruto, I'll train, he said, his voice hardening. I'll figure this out. I won't come out until I can hold an egg without crushing it. He didn't wait for an answer. He warped away. High above the village, hidden in the cloud layer, a figure watched. It was Ishmael. The celestial auditor held a small, crystalline device in his hand. It was recording the residual energy of the purple raisin shuriken. Fascinating, Ishmael murmured. His voice was melodic, unnatural. The primitive is attempting to access the code of creation. But he does not speak the language. He is merely shouting. He tapped the device. Subject, Naruto Uzumaki. Status, active corruption. Threat level, escalating. Ishmael looked down at the crater. He erased matter. That is a violation of the law of conservation, Ishmael sighed, as if disappointed by a messy room. The universe cannot hold a balance if mortals start deleting the furniture. He put the device away. I shall begin the audit. Ishmael descended. He didn't head for Naruto. He headed for the land of iron. If one wants to exterminate a pest, one first removes its nesting ground. The sky darkened, not with clouds, but with a sudden, unnatural twilight. The silence of the infinite void was terrifying, but the silence of the auditor was final. Chapter 4, The Auditor Arrives. The world did not end with a bang. It began to change with a series of quiet, impossible errors. In the land of lightning, a waterfall began to flow upward. The water didn't spray or mist, it simply adhered to a reversed gravitational constant, pooling in the sky until it formed a massive, shimmering lake suspended in the clouds. In the deserts of the land of wind, the sand stopped shifting. The dunes froze, locked in place as if the concept of friction had suddenly increased by a factor of 1,000. Travelers found themselves walking on sand that was as hard as concrete, trapped in a stillness that felt unnatural. These were not attacks. They were glitches. And in the land of iron, the snow stopped falling. It hung in the air, millions of white flakes suspended in a perfect stasis, creating a labyrinth of frozen time. Mifune, general of the samurai, walked through this suspended blizzard. His hand rested on the hilt of his katana, Kurosawa. His breath didn't mist in the air. The air was too still for thermodynamics to function correctly. General, a samurai captain whispered, his voice trembling. What is this? Genjutsu? No, Mifune said, his eyes scanning the white void. Samurai were trained to disrupt chakra flow, to break illusions. But this wasn't an illusion. He could touch the suspended snowflakes. They were solid, immovable objects. The world has stopped. They reached the gates of the iron fortress. Usually, it was a bustle of activity. Now, it was a tomb. The guards at the gate were frozen mid-stride, not paralyzed by fear, but physically locked in time. Standing in the center of the courtyard was a man. He did not look like a ninja. He wore robes of pristine, geometric white, woven from a fabric that seemed to absorb the ambient light. His skin was pale, not like a sickness, but like marble. He had no hair, no eyebrows, just smooth, unblemished skin. His eyes were closed. He held a small notebook in one hand and a charcoal stick in the other. You are trespassing, Mifune announced, his voice projecting with the authority of a veteran of 3 wars. Identify yourself. The man opened his eyes. They were not the Byakugan. They were not the rinnagan. They were entirely black, filled with shifting constellations of light. It was like looking into a deep space telescope. Mifune, the man said. He didn't speak the name, he read it from the air. Carbon-based entity. Designate, warrior. Efficiency rating, 42%. I am the general of this land. Mifune drew his blade. The steel sang. And you are the cause of this disturbance. Disturbance? The man tilted his head. I am merely pausing the simulation to conduct an inventory. The local variable count is dangerously high. Too much chaos. Too much chakra. This is not a simulation, Mifune growled. He lunged. Samurai technique, flash. It was a strike faster than the blinking of an eye. Mifune moved at a speed that had surprised even Hanzo the salamander. His blade aimed for the stranger's neck. The blade connected. There was no blood. There was no sound of metal hitting flesh. The sword passed through the man's neck as if he were a hologram. But he didn't flicker. The man looked at the blade protruding from his throat. He looked bored. Steel, the man noted. Iron alloy, carbon trace. Primitive structure. He tapped the blade with his charcoal stick. Delete. The sword didn't break. It vanished. One moment, Mifune was holding a legendary katana. The next, he was holding a handful of rust dust. The concept of the sword's cohesion had been revoked. Mifune stumbled back, staring at his empty hands. What are you? I am Ishmael, the entity said. I am a celestial auditor. I have been sent by the Central Authority to investigate a localized collapse of probability. Ishmael stepped forward. He walked on the air, treating the atmosphere as solid ground. A native of this planet recently accessed the infinite void, Ishmael explained calmly, as if discussing the weather. He introduced a divide by zero error into the sector. I am here to correct the file. You're talking about Naruto, Mifune realized, cold sweat breaking out on his forehead. Naruto Uzumaki. Yes. The anomaly. Ishmael made a note in his book. But before I expunge him, I must assess the level of corruption in the general population. Have you all been infected by his chaotic frequency? We are free men, the samurai captain shouted, charging forward. Die. Ishmael sighed. Inefficient. He swept his hand horizontally. Format, simplify. The captain didn't die. He changed. His complex biology, organs, blood, skin, was instantly converted into a perfect cube of salt. He collapsed, not as a corpse, but as a block of mineral. The other samurai screamed. Do not make noise, Ishmael admonished gently. It disrupts the audit. He raised his hand toward the fortress. General reset. The massive stone walls of the iron fortress, which had stood for centuries, began to unravel. The stone turned to sand. The wood turned to sapling trees. The metal turned to ore. In seconds, the fortress was gone, replaced by a pristine, natural hill. Mifune fell to his knees. The power was beyond comprehension. It wasn't destruction, it was regression. You. Mifune gasped. You are a god. No, Ishmael corrected him, closing his book. Gods are creators. I am merely the janitor. He looked south, toward the land of fire. The anomaly is there. I can smell the math. Sector 44, the forest of death. Naruto Uzumaki was holding an egg. He sat cross-legged on a mossy stone, his brow furrowed in intense concentration. Sweat beaded on his forehead. His hand was trembling. Gently, Hinata's voice came from nearby. She was sitting on a tree root, watching him with unwavering patience. I'm trying, Naruto gritted out. To anyone else, he was just holding an egg. To Naruto, he was holding a collapsing star. His limitless barrier was active, it had to be, or the sensory overload of the forest would cripple him, but he was trying to shape it. He was trying to create a pocket of normal space within the infinity, a zone where the egg could exist without being crushed by the gravitational distortion of his defense. Pressure, 14 psi. Shell density, calcium carbonate. Fragile. The egg began to crack. No, 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 Naruto whispered. He tried to dial back the repulsion field. Crack. The egg exploded. Not messy, yolky explosion. The white and yellow contents were vaporized instantly by a microscopic pulse of gravity. Damn it. Naruto threw his hands up, the sudden motion causing a shockwave that stripped the leaves off a nearby oak tree. He slumped, burying his face in his hands. It's impossible. I can't turn it down. It's like trying to thread a needle with a raisin gun. Hinata stood up and walked over to him. She moved carefully, announcing her presence with her chakra so he wouldn't react defensively. She reached into a basket and pulled out another egg. Again, she said softly. I'm wasting food, Naruto muttered. We have chickens, she smiled. Again. She placed the egg in his palm. Her fingers brushed his. Naruto flinched. The contact sent a jolt of data through his brain, skin temperature, 98.6. Pulse, 72. Softness, high dot, but he forced himself to focus on the feeling, not the numbers. How do you do it? Naruto asked, looking at her. How do you stay so quiet inside? I don't, Hinata admitted, sitting next to him on the stone. My mind is always loud. Worrying about Hanabi, about the clan, about you. She rested her chin on her hand. But I focus on one thing at a time. Right now, the only thing in the world is that egg. Naruto looked at the fragile shell. One thing, he whispered. He closed his eyes. He stopped looking at the vectors of the wind. He stopped listening to the insects underground. He visualized the egg. Just the egg. The air around him settled. The faint hum of the limitless barrier dropped an octave. The egg didn't crack. Good, Hinata whispered. Suddenly, Naruto gasped. He dropped the egg. It hit the ground and broke normally, a messy splat of yolk. Naruto grabbed his chest, his eyes flying open. The rinnagan pattern spun violently, the rings rotating in opposite directions. Naruto-kun. Hinata was on her feet instantly. Something broke, Naruto gasped. He looked north. He didn't see trees. He saw a tear in the fabric of the world. Someone just opened a door that shouldn't be opened. He stood up, swaying. It's not Sasuke. It's not a ninja. It feels like cold logic. A hawk screeched high above. It was Sasuke's summon. It circled once, then dove, dropping a scroll. Naruto caught it with a gravity pull. He unrolled it. The message was short, written in Sasuke's hurried scrawl, Land of Iron. Hostile entity. Unknown abilities. Do not engage. I am intercepting. Idiot, Naruto swore. He's going alone. We have to help him, Hinata said. No, Naruto said, his face hardening into the mask of the protector. You have to stay. If this thing is what I think it is, it's here for me. Naruto, go to Kakashi, Naruto ordered, his voice leaving no room for argument. Tell him to raise the village barrier to maximum. Tell him to evacuate the civilians to the shelters. What are you going to do? Naruto looked north. The air around him began to warp, the heat rising. I'm going to see who knocked on my door. The land of Iron. Sasuke Uchiha stood on a ridge overlooking the valley where the Iron Fortress used to be. He stared at the empty hill. Gone, Sasuke whispered. Not destroyed. Erased. His rinnagan analyzed the residue. It was terrifyingly clean. There was no chaotic destruction, no signs of struggle. Just a perfect removal of matter. He sensed the entity moving south. Walking. Sasuke jumped. He moved with the speed of lightning, flickering across the snow. He intercepted the path of the intruder in a canyon of black rock. Stop, Sasuke commanded. He landed in front of Ishmael. Sasuke didn't draw his sword immediately. He stood with his cape billowing, his hand resting on the hilt, his single visible eye tracking every micro-movement. Ishmael stopped. He looked at Sasuke. Uchiha Sasuke, Ishmael read. Indra's transmigrant. Secondary anomaly. You speak as if you know me, Sasuke said coolly. I have read your file, Ishmael said. You are the shadow to the light. The yin to the yang. A necessary component for stability. However. Ishmael tapped his chin with the charcoal stick. You are currently out of position. You should be dead. I'm hard to kill, Sasuke said. Correction, Ishmael said. You should have died 4 years ago. Your continued existence is a clerical error. Let's see you correct it. Sasuke didn't wait. Amaterasu. Black flames, hot enough to burn fire itself, ignited directly on Ishmael's chest. Ishmael didn't scream. He looked down at the black fire consuming his robes. Combustion, Ishmael noted. Rapid oxidation. A chemical reaction. He placed his hand over the flames. End reaction. The Amaterasu didn't fade. It simply ceased to be fire. It turned into black ink that dripped harmlessly down his robes. Sasuke's eye widened. He stripped the heat property from the flames. Ishmael pointed his finger at Sasuke. Distance, 0. Sasuke felt the space collapse. He was instantly pulled toward Ishmael, not by gravity, but because the space between them had been deleted. Ishmael's hand, glowing with white light, aimed for Sasuke's heart. Amenota Jikara. Sasuke swapped places with a stone behind Ishmael. The white hand struck nothing. Teleportation, Ishmael droned, turning around slowly. Spatial displacement. Annoying. But finite. Sasuke drew his sword. Lightning cackled down the blade, Chidori blade. He rushed in for close quarters. If ninjutsu could be rewritten, he would use physics. He would cut him. Sasuke slashed. Ishmael caught the blade. With his bare fingers. Your velocity is impressive, Ishmael said. But your trajectory is linear. He squeezed. The Kusanagi blade, a sword of legendary hardness, snapped. Ishmael lashed out with a backhand. It wasn't a martial arts move. It was a swat. Sasuke blocked with both arms. The impact was like being hit by a falling mountain. Sasuke was launched backward, crashing through the canyon wall, burying himself 10 meters deep in the rock. He coughed blood. His ribs were cracked. He's not using chakra, Sasuke realized, pulling himself out of the rubble. He's not enhancing his muscles. He just altered the mass of his hand at the moment of impact. He made his hand weigh 1,000 tons. Ishmael floated toward him. You use the rinnagan, Ishmael observed. A tool of the divine, grafted onto a mortal ape. It is like giving a nuclear weapon to a toddler. Sasuke activated his Susanoo. The purple spectral warrior erupted, forming the ribcage, then the skeletal structure. It towered over the canyon. Indra's arrow. Sasuke roared. He didn't have the tailed beast chakra to make the full version, but he formed a massive bolt of lightning in the Susanoo's hand. He fired it point blank. The canyon exploded in blinding light. The sound was deafening. When the dust cleared, Ishmael was standing in a crater of glass. He was unharmed. He was holding a small, shimmering barrier in front of him. It wasn't a chakra shield. It looked like a geometric grid. "You manipulate energy," Ishmael said, dusting off his shoulder. "I manipulate the rules that govern energy." He looked at the Susanoo. "Uninstall." He snapped his fingers. Sasuke felt a wrenching pain in his eyes. The Susanoo didn't shatter, it unraveled. The chakra simply refused to hold its shape. The purple warrior dissolved into mist. Sasuke fell to his knees, panting. He was outmatched. This wasn't a fight. It was an administration. "You are obsolete," Ishmael said, walking forward. "I will recycle your chakra." He reached out. Boom. A sonic boom tore through the sky. Ishmael looked up. A figure descended from the clouds, moving so fast the air burned orange around him. Naruto landed between Sasuke and Ishmael. The impact crater was massive, shattering the canyon floor. Naruto stood up, his cape flapping in the wind. His eyes were glowing with the complex rinnagan pattern. The limitless aura was visible, a shimmering heat haze around his body. "Get away from him," Naruto said. His voice was low, vibrating with a growl that wasn't entirely human. Ishmael stopped. A rare expression crossed his face. A smile. "Target acquired," Ishmael said, opening a new page in his notebook. Naruto Uzumaki. The glitch. Naruto looked back at Sasuke. "You okay?" Sasuke spat blood. "He edits reality, Naruto. Ninjutsu doesn't work. He just rewrites the code." "I know," Naruto said, turning back to the auditor. "I can feel it. He smells like math." Naruto took a step forward. The ground beneath his foot cracked, unable to bear the weight of his presence. "Who are you?" Naruto asked. "I am the solution," Ishmael replied. "You broke the universe, boy. You opened a box you cannot close. I am here to close it." "I saved the world," Naruto retorted. "You saved a world," Ishmael corrected. "At the expense of the cosmic stability. You are a cancer cell. You think you are growing, but you are merely killing the host." Ishmael dropped his notebook. It vanished before it hit the ground. "Assessment complete," Ishmael said. "Negotiation is unnecessary. Protocol, erasure." The air between them began to hum. Naruto raised his hand. "Sasuke, move." "Naruto, don't use the void." Sasuke warned. "If you open it again, I won't," Naruto said. He clenched his fist. Sage art, super-tailed beast raisin shuriken. But he didn't form it with clones. He formed 9 tiny raisin shurikens, each with a different element, floating in a halo behind his back. "I'm going to kick his ass the old-fashioned way." Ishmael tilted his head. How quaint. The two forces, chaos and order, stared at each other across the frozen wastes of the land of iron. The snow began to fall again. But this time, the flakes were black. Chapter 5, Diplomatic Immunity. The skirmish in the land of iron did not end with a crater. It ended with a calculation. Naruto had engaged Ishmael. For 3 seconds, the world had witnessed a collision of 2 incompatible laws of physics. Naruto's chaotic, emotional, infinity against Ishmael's cold, hard edit. Naruto had thrown a punch wrapped in the attractive force of blue. Ishmael had simply changed his own coordinates to null, causing the punch to pass through him as if he were a ghost. Then, Ishmael had looked at the horizon, tapped his notebook, and vanished. He didn't flee. He relocated the theater of operations. "He's heading south," Sasuke rasped, clutching his healed but aching ribs. The Susanoo had been dismantled like a child's toy, and the shock still rattled his bones. He realized he can't delete you instantly. You're too dense. Too much data. So he's going to the village, Naruto said, his eyes still burning with the complex gears of the rinnagan. The wind whipped his cloak. He's going to hold them hostage. No, Sasuke corrected, his Sharingan spinning as he analyzed the residual energy trail. He doesn't think like a villain, Naruto. He thinks like a bureaucrat. He's not going to take hostages. He's going to file a complaint with management. Management? The daimyo. Naruto's face went cold. He grabbed Sasuke's shoulder. Hold on. The world warped. Konoha, the Hokage's office. The room was crowded. It smelled of stale coffee, fear, and ozone. Kakashi Hatake stood behind the desk. He wasn't wearing the hat, he had thrown it onto a stack of intelligence reports. His eyes were glued to the crystal sphere in the center of the desk, which showed a live feed from the village gates. The fire daimyo, Lord Madoka, was pacing frantically. He was flanked by 4 of his elite guardian samurai, their hands twitching near their swords. This is unacceptable, Hatake, the daimyo shrilled, his fan fluttering like a panicked bird. An entity of godlike power has declared war on the laws of physics, and you tell me he is standing at my gates? He is standing at our gates, Kakashi corrected, his voice calm but tight. And he hasn't attacked yet. The barrier team reports he's just waiting. He demanded an audience, the daimyo shouted. With the regional administrators. That means me. He wants to negotiate. He doesn't want to negotiate, Shikamaru Nara spoke up from the corner, his eyes shadowed. He wants compliance. Outside, the village sirens were wailing, a low, mournful drone that signaled a threat level, dragon. Suddenly, the air in the room grew heavy. The papers on the desk flattened as if pressed by an invisible hand. Pop Naruto and Sasuke appeared in the center of the room. The guardian samurai drew their swords instantly. Stand down. Kakashi ordered, his chakra flaring to suppress the samurai. Naruto didn't even look at the swords. He looked at the crystal ball. He saw the figure in white standing outside the village gates, motionless, patient, terrifying. He beat us here, Naruto whispered. Naruto-kun, the daimyo gasped, rushing forward. He looked at the boy, no, the man, who had saved the world. But he didn't see a savior. He saw a liability. Thank the spirits. You must surrender. The room went dead silent. Naruto turned his head slowly. The blue rings in his eyes were dim, but the pressure rolling off him was immense. What did you say? This Ishmael, the daimyo stammered, sweating profusely. He sent a transmission. Telepathically. To everyone in the capital. He says you are a glitch. That your power is tearing the fabric of the world. He says if you surrender to be reformatted, the world will return to normal. Reformatted means dead, Sasuke said from the wall, leaning against it for support. It means he wipes Naruto's existence and recycles the chakra. Better one life than the whole nation, the daimyo cried out. Naruto, you are a ninja. Your duty is to the village. To the land of fire. Sacrifice is what you do. Naruto stared at the daimyo. He remembered the wars. He remembered Neji lying cold on the ground. He remembered Jiraiya sinking into the ocean. I have sacrificed, Naruto said softly. Then do it one last time. The daimyo pointed a trembling finger at the door. I command you. As your lord. Walk out there and give yourself up. Kakashi stepped out from behind the desk. He moved between Naruto and the daimyo. No, Kakashi said. The daimyo's eyes bulged. Excuse me. You are the Hokage. I am the daimyo. You serve me. I serve the people, Kakashi said, his voice hard as iron. And I don't trade my soldiers' lives to appease tyrants. Not even cosmic ones. This is treason. The daimyo signaled his samurai. Seize him. Seize the Uzumaki. The 4 samurai hesitated. They looked at Naruto. They looked at the boy who had kicked away a truth-seeker orb. They looked at their swords. We cannot, the captain of the samurai whispered, lowering his head. It would be suicide. Naruto sighed. It was a sound of infinite exhaustion. Shikamaru, Naruto said. Yeah. Keep the daimyo safe. Make sure he doesn't do anything stupid. Naruto walked to the window. He opened it. The wind rushed in, carrying the scent of impending rain. Where are you going? Kakashi asked. I'm going to talk to the auditor, Naruto said. Diplomacy, right? Naruto, Sasuke warned. He is logic incarnate. You can't talk no jutsu a calculator. Naruto looked back, a faint, sad smile touching his lips. You'd be surprised what you can do when you're the irrational variable. He stepped out of the window and floated down toward the gates. The gates of Konoha, the massive green gates, were shut. The barrier seal, a shimmering purple dome, was at maximum output. Behind the gates, thousands of ninja stood ready, kunai drawn, sweat dripping. On the other side stood Ishmael. He was examining a flower growing by the road. He touched it, and the flower turned into a perfect geometric crystal. Inefficient biological design, Ishmael murmured. Symmetry improved. High above, Naruto descended. He didn't land on the ground. He hovered 10 feet in the air, legs crossed, arms folded. He floated on the other side of the barrier, directly in front of Ishmael. You're scaring my friends, Naruto said. Ishmael looked up. Fear is a biological response to the unknown. Once they understand that their deletion is necessary for the greater good, the fear will subside. You talk a lot about the greater good for a guy who turns people into salt, Naruto noted. I do not kill, Ishmael said calmly. I archive. The energy is preserved. It is merely the form that is changed. Ishmael gestured to the barrier between them. This shield is primitive. It relies on a rotational frequency of chakra. If I adjust the sine wave by 0.4 degrees. Ishmael raised a finger. Don't, Naruto said. Naruto expanded his own aura. The limitless extended, pressing against Ishmael's influence. The space between them crackled with black lightning as 2 realities rubbed against each other. Let's talk, Naruto said. You say I'm a glitch. You are, Ishmael confirmed. Your access to the infinite void is unauthorized. You are a mortal operating with developer tools. You are seeing the code of the universe, and your brain is subconsciously rewriting it to suit your emotional state. And that's bad. It is catastrophic, Ishmael said. He opened his notebook. Observe. He tore a page out and held it up. It showed a map of the elemental nations. Since you awakened the limitless, the global temperature has dropped by 2 degrees. The rotation of the planet has slowed by 0.0001 milliseconds. Gravity in the land of fire has fluctuated. You are heavy, Naruto Uzumaki. You are a black hole of significance. If you remain, you will eventually pull the entire reality into your own gravity well. The world will collapse into you. Naruto stared at the man. He felt the truth of it. He felt the weight. So I have to die. No, Ishmael said. You must be removed. I will take you to the central archive. You will be stored in stasis. The world will heal. It sounded peaceful. To just stop. To stop hearing the math. To stop worrying. And if I refuse? Then I will remove the error by force. And in the process, the surrounding data, this village, will likely be corrupted. The daimyo's voice blared over the village loudspeaker system. He had commandeered the comms room. Naruto. Surrender. That is an order. Do not doom us all for your ego. Naruto winced. The voice was loud. Ishmael looked at the village walls. Your leadership is compliant. Why do you resist? Is it not the logic of the ninja to sacrifice the one for the many? Naruto uncrossed his legs and lowered himself until his boots touched the dirt. He deactivated the flight. He stood on the ground, eye to eye with the auditor. That used to be the logic, Naruto said. I hated that logic. He looked at the crystal flower Ishmael had created. You think the world is an equation. You think if the numbers balance, it's perfect. Naruto kicked the crystal flower, shattering it. But people aren't numbers. We're messy. We're loud. We make mistakes. Chaos, Ishmael said with disdain. Life, Naruto corrected. I fought a war to stop a goddess who wanted to turn us all into obedient batteries. I'm not going to surrender to a cosmic accountant. Then you choose destruction. I choose us. Naruto's eyes flared. The gears spun. If I'm too heavy for the world, then I'll just get strong enough to hold the world up. Ishmael closed his notebook. Negotiation failed. Ishmael didn't attack Naruto. He looked past him. He looked at the village. The nest encourages the pest, Ishmael said. Therefore, the nest must be dispersed. He raised both hands. System command, remove concept. Target, distance. Naruto felt it before he saw it. It wasn't an explosion. It was a sudden, sickening lurch in the gut. Behind him, inside the village, chaos erupted. The concept of distance ceased to apply within the walls of Konoha. A ninja running toward the wall found that no matter how fast he ran, he remained in the same spot. A building on the east side of the village suddenly overlapped with a building on the west side. Stone merged with wood. People screamed as they were suddenly standing inside of each other, not telefragged, but sharing the same coordinates. The Hokage Tower appeared to be inches from the main gate, yet infinitely far away. Perspective collapsed. Up was down. Far was near. What did you do? Naruto roared, spinning around. He saw the nightmare. The village was a cubist painting come to life. I removed the variable of space, Ishmael said calmly. Without distance, there is no structure. Without structure, there is no village. Naruto looked back at Ishmael. True rage, hot and white, flooded his system. Fix it. Surrender, Ishmael said. And I will restore the parameters. Naruto clenched his teeth so hard a molar cracked. The limitless screamed in his head, demanding he unleash it. I'm going to kill you, Naruto whispered. You cannot kill a concept, Ishmael replied. Naruto vanished. He didn't teleport. He moved through the infinite space he controlled. He appeared instantly in front of Ishmael, his fist cocked. Frog Kumite. Natural energy. Limitless amplification. He punched. This time, Ishmael didn't phase. He blocked. He caught. Naruto's fist. The impact shattered the ground for 3 miles. The shockwave flattened the forest behind them. The barrier of the village, already distorted by the lack of distance, flickered and died. Ishmael slid back 3 inches. Better, Ishmael noted. You are learning to touch the divine. Naruto didn't let up. He unleashed a barrage. Thousands of punches in a single second. Each one was capable of leveling a mountain. Ishmael blocked them all. His hands moved with perfect, robotic precision. Parry. Deflect. Nullify. But, Ishmael said, catching a kick that could have split the moon, you are still fighting with anger. Anger is predictable. Ishmael poked Naruto in the chest. It was a simple poke. But he applied a localized edit, mass equals infinite. Crack. Naruto's ribs shattered. He was launched backward, not through the air, but through the dimension. He smashed through the distorted space of the village, crashing through the Hokage monument, which was currently floating upside down near the market, and burying himself deep in the rock of the mountain. Ishmael dusted off his robes. The anomaly is durable, he observed. He walked toward the village gates. The ninja standing there were screaming, clutching their heads as the lack of distance drove their inner ears insane. They couldn't aim their weapons because target and self were occupying the same space. Silence, Ishmael commanded. He waved a hand. The screaming stopped. The ninja fell silent, frozen in time. Now, Ishmael said, stepping into Konoha. Where is the Uchiha? I must finish the formatting. Inside the rubble Naruto lay in the dark. His chest burned. He couldn't breathe. Kurama was pouring chakra into the wound, knitting bone back together, but it was slow. Naruto! Get up! Kurama roared. He's entering the village. I know, Naruto wheezed, blood bubbling past his lips. I can't hit him, Kurama. He knows every move before I make it. He's reading the code. Kurama explained. He sees the intention before the muscle fires. You have to be unpredictable. How do I be unpredictable to a guy who reads reality? Stop thinking. Kurama snapped. You're calculating too much. The Limitless made you a computer. Go back to being an idiot. Naruto laughed, a wet, painful sound. Be an idiot. Best advice I've heard all day. He closed his eyes. He listened to the chaos outside. The silence of the frozen ninja. He felt a different chakra signature nearby. Hinata. She was somewhere in the distorted mess of the village. She was trying to organize an evacuation in a world where exit didn't exist. Naruto's eyes snapped open. He touched my village, Naruto growled. The blue rings in his eyes spun, then reversed. Kurama. Give me everything. If we do that, the vessel might crack. Let it crack. Naruto stood up. The rubble around him didn't fall away, it turned into dust. A pillar of golden light erupted from the mountain. Ishmael stopped walking. He turned around. Oh. The golden light didn't look like the Six Paths mode. It was darker. Dense. It was the color of an old star. Naruto walked out of the light. He wasn't calculating anymore. He wasn't looking at the math. He was looking at Ishmael with the eyes of a predator. Round 2, Naruto said. He clapped his hands together. Secret art, reality marble. It wasn't a real technique. He just made it up. He grabbed the distorted space of the village, the mess of buildings and streets, and he pulled. He physically dragged the concept of the village behind him, separating the battlefield from the civilians. Ishmael raised an eyebrow. You separated the data layers. Clever. I'm not data, Naruto roared, launching himself forward. This time, he didn't punch. He opened his mouth. Tailed beast bomb. But he didn't fire it. He swallowed it. He internalized the explosion. His body glowed like a sun. He tackled Ishmael. Let's see you calculate this. Boom. Naruto detonated the tailed beast bomb inside his own body while holding Ishmael. The result was a contained supernova. The light engulfed them. Both. The Limitless contained the blast, focusing 100% of the thermal energy directly into Ishmael's personal space. For a moment, the auditor's white robes blackened. Then, the light faded. Naruto fell back, his skin smoking, regenerating rapidly. Ishmael stood there. He was singed. His notebook was ash. He looked annoyed. You destroyed my notes, Ishmael said. His voice was no longer melodic. It was jagged. "I'll destroy you too," Naruto panted. "I see," Ishmael said. "I have underestimated the virus's tenacity. I must increase the antivirus permission level." Ishmael raised his hand to the sky. Summoning, celestial correction. The sky cracked open. Not a portal. A literal crack in the blue. Through the crack, something looked down. A giant, mechanical eye. "Audit in progress," a voice boomed from the sky. Naruto looked up. He felt a fear he hadn't felt since Kaguya. "This," Ishmael said, "is the fracture." Chapter 6, The Fracture. The sky above Konoha did not look like a sky anymore. It looked like a broken monitor. The celestial correction was not a creature. It was a mechanism. A colossal, unblinking eye made of concentric rings of gold and white metal, hovering in the stratosphere. It stared down at the hidden leaf village with a terrifying lack of malice. It was simply performing a function. A low-frequency hum vibrated the teeth of every living soul in the land of fire. Below, the distortion of the village was worsening. The spatial logic had collapsed entirely. The Hokage Tower was currently upside down, fused with the foundation of the academy. The streets twisted like Mobius strips, leading nowhere. Ninja were running, screaming, as they found themselves trapped in loops of recurring pavement. In the center of this madness, Naruto Uzumaki stood panting. His golden chakra cloak was flickering, the dense energy sputtering like a dying candle. The limitless barrier around him was straining, visible cracks of white light appearing in the air as it tried to reject the pressure of the celestial eye. Ishmael floated 10 meters away. His robes were scorched, his skin singed from Naruto's suicide blast, but his posture was impeccable. "The audit is proceeding," Ishmael announced, his voice amplified by the giant eye above. "Sector 7, Konoha, is designated as corrupted data. Quarantine protocols are active. Stop it." Naruto roared. He launched himself forward. He moved so fast that the friction turned the air into plasma. He aimed a punch at Ishmael's face. Contact. For the first time, Ishmael didn't phase or block with one hand. He crossed both arms in an X. Boom. The impact created a shockwave that flattened the ruined forest for 10 miles. But Ishmael didn't move. He stood firm in the air, his boots locked onto spatial coordinates that refused to yield. "Your output is dropping," Ishmael noted. "You are burning your life force to maintain this state. Every second you fight me, you age a month." "I don't care." Naruto screamed. He spun, delivering a roundhouse kick infused with boil release, attempting to melt Ishmael's defenses. Ishmael caught the ankle. Inefficient. Ishmael slammed Naruto down. Naruto hit the ground, or what passed for the ground in this twisted reality. It was the side of the hospital building, lying horizontally. He crashed through 5 floors of concrete and steel. Before he could recover, Ishmael was there. The auditor stepped through the rubble. "You are fighting a system administrator with user-level privileges," Ishmael said, raising a hand. The air around his fingers turned black. Delete. A beam of black nothingness fired at Naruto. Amenota Jikara. The world snapped. Naruto was gone. In his place, a massive chunk of debris, a statue of the first Hokage, appeared. The black beam hit the stone head. The stone didn't explode, it ceased to exist. The beam continued, carving a hole through the earth that went down into the mantle. Sasuke landed beside Naruto, who had been swapped to a rooftop 50 meters away. Sasuke was in bad shape. His left eye was bleeding profusely, vision blurring. His chakra reserves were critically low. "Naruto," Sasuke panted, leaning on his sword. "We can't win this physically. He counters every element. He counters every force." "I know," Naruto wheezed. His regeneration was slowing down. The limitless was eating his brain. He reads the code, Sasuke. He knows the punch is coming before I throw it. Then we need to blind him, Sasuke said. We need to override his processing power. Naruto looked up at the giant mechanical eye in the sky. It was emitting beams of light that were correcting the village, turning trees into wireframe models, then erasing them. I have one shot, Naruto whispered. He clutched his chest. The void. If I can catch him in it, even he has to process the information. Even a computer freezes if you give it infinite data. It's a gamble, Sasuke warned. If it fails, you'll burn out. You'll be defenseless. Look around, Sasuke. Naruto gestured to the nightmare city. We're already dead if I don't try. Sasuke gritted his teeth. He sheathed his broken sword. I'll buy you 2 seconds. Make them count. Sasuke didn't wait for an answer. He charged. The distraction Ishmael watched the Uchiha approach. Persistence is a flaw, Ishmael sighed. Sasuke didn't run in a straight line. He utilized the distorted space of the village. He ran up a wall, jumped onto a floating cloud, and dove from a blind spot. Fire style, dragon flame jutsu. Huge dragons of fire erupted. Ishmael waved his hand. Temperature, 0. The fire froze instantly, turning into statues of ice dragons. Sasuke smirked. That wasn't the attack. He pulled on the wire strings he had hidden in the fire. The ice dragons shattered, sending thousands of razor-sharp ice shards hurtling toward Ishmael. Physical projectiles, Ishmael droned. Vector control, reverse. The shards stopped and flew back at Sasuke. Sasuke didn't dodge. He activated his Manjikyu Sharingan. Susanoo, ribcage. The purple bones deflected the shards. Sasuke pushed through the hail of ice, getting within striking distance. He gathered every ounce of his remaining chakra into his right hand. Chidori, onyx. The lightning was black, infused with the Amaterasu flames. A dual-nature attack. Physics and chemistry combined. Die! Sasuke screamed, thrusting his hand forward. Ishmael caught Sasuke's wrist. The black lightning danced over Ishmael's white skin, scorching it, but failing to penetrate. Impressive composition, Ishmael admitted. But your arm is biological. Ishmael squeezed. Crack. Sasuke screamed as the bones in his forearm were pulverized. Ishmael didn't let go. He lifted Sasuke up. I will remove the eyes first. Now, Naruto. Sasuke yelled. Through the pain. The gamble Naruto was directly behind them. He had masked his presence completely, hiding within the chaotic noise of the crumbling village. He floated there, his hands forming a specific seal. The middle finger crossed over the index. The sign of the domain. His eyes were wide open. The blue rings were spinning so fast they looked like solid discs of light. Blood trickled from his ears. Domain expansion, Naruto whispered. The air shivered. Ishmael turned his head, dropping Sasuke. Infinite void. Flash. The world disappeared. The ruined village, the screaming ninja, the giant eye in the sky, all of it was replaced. They were in the white space. The space of static and endless lines. Naruto stood opposite Ishmael. Got you, Naruto breathed. The effect should have been instantaneous. Kaguya had frozen immediately. The sheer volume of information, seeing every atom, feeling every timeline, hearing every sound in the universe simultaneously, should have paralyzed Ishmael's consciousness. Ishmael stood still. His black eyes scanned the void. Naruto waited for him to fall. He waited for the overload. 1 second. 2 seconds. Ishmael took a step forward. Naruto's heart stopped. Interesting, Ishmael said. His voice echoed from everywhere. You have created a localized singularity of perception. Ishmael looked at his own hand. I can see the decay of my own protons. I can feel the rotation of galaxies. It is noisy. Why? Naruto stammered, stepping back. Why aren't you frozen? Ishmael looked up at Naruto. He smiled. It was a cold, terrifying smile. Because, child, Ishmael said, taking another step. You are trying to drown a fish in water. He walked through the static. You force the mind to process everything, Ishmael explained, walking closer. For a mortal, or even a localized deity like Kaguya, that is overwhelming. Their processors cannot handle the bandwidth. Ishmael stopped right in front of Naruto. But I am an auditor. My function is to process the universe. I process infinite data every millisecond. You have not trapped me in a prison. Ishmael reached out. You have merely put me in my office. Naruto screamed. He tried to cancel the domain, to run, to do anything. But he was locked in his own technique. Ishmael placed his hand on Naruto's stomach. Directly over the seal of 8 trigrams. The source of your anomaly is the fusion of the tailed beast chakra and the corrupted Asura lineage. Ishmael's hand glowed with a harsh, red light. Code injection, sever. He pushed. It didn't feel like a punch. It felt like an amputation. Inside the seal, Kurama roared in agony. The connection, the golden link that had bound Naruto and the fox together since birth, was violently ripped apart. Not extracted, but severed. The gate slammed shut and was welded tight by foreign code. No! Naruto shrieked. The golden cloak vanished instantly. The limitless barrier shattered. The domain collapsed. The full reality rushed back in with the force of a hurricane. Naruto fell. He was no longer floating. He was just a boy falling from the sky. He hit the twisted pavement of the distorted village hard. Crack. His leg snapped. He rolled, coming to a stop in a pile of dust. He gasped for air, but his lungs felt paralyzed. He reached for his chakra. Nothing. It was dark. Darker than he had ever known. He couldn't feel Kurama. He couldn't feel the nature energy. He couldn't see the math. He was empty. Naruto. Sasuke crawled toward him, cradling his shattered arm. Naruto rolled onto his back. He looked up. Ishmael descended slowly from the sky, haloed by the light of the celestial eye. The eye was now firing lasers into the village, deleting entire city blocks. The glitch is patched, Ishmael stated. He pointed a finger at Naruto. Now for the deletion. Move. A wall of sand and water slammed into Ishmael. It was Gaara and the Mizukage, Mai Terumi. They had arrived from the command tent. Sand burial. Gaara roared, crushing a massive pyramid of sand around Ishmael. Lava style, acid. Mist. Mai screamed, flooding the air with corrosive gas. Inefficient, came the voice from inside the sand. The sand pyramid exploded outward, turning into glass. The acid mist solidified into harmless snowflakes. Ishmael stepped out. He looked at the Kage. Secondary targets, he noted. Don't let him touch Naruto. Tsunade landed in front of Naruto, her creation rebirth seal active on her forehead. She slammed her heel down, shattering the ground to create a barrier of debris. The Raikage, A, flashed in with lightning armor. Lariat. He struck Ishmael's neck. His arm, moving at relativistic speeds, should have decapitated the auditor. Ishmael didn't move. The Raikage's arm bounced off an invisible geometric shield. Kinetic energy absorbed, Ishmael said. He flicked the Raikage. A flew backward as if shot out of a cannon, crashing through 3 buildings before vanishing from sight. He's a monster. Mei yelled. Get Naruto out of here. Tsunade ordered, turning to look at Sasuke. Take him and go. We'll buy you time. We can't leave the village. Naruto croaked, trying to stand on his broken leg. He'll erase it. He's already erasing it, you fool. Tsunade grabbed Naruto by the collar. Tears were streaming down her face. Konoha is lost. Save the future. She shoved him toward Sasuke. Ishmael raised his hand. No one leaves. The quarantine is absolute. The celestial eye focused. A massive beam of white light began to charge directly above them. Calculated survival rate, 0%, Ishmael said. Suddenly, the distorted space around them shifted. It wasn't Ishmael doing it. Hinata Hyuga stood atop a twisted streetlight nearby. Her Byakugan was flared to its limit. She wasn't looking at Ishmael. She was looking at the spatial distortion itself. Shikamaru-kun. Now, she screamed into her headset. From the shadows of the ruins, Shikamaru, Ino, and Choji appeared. Formation Ino Shikacho, shadow stitching. Shikamaru yelled. But he didn't aim for Ishmael. He aimed for Sasuke's shadow. Ino. Connect. Ino fired a mind transfer jutsu, linking Sasuke, Naruto, and Hinata. Sasuke. Hinata's voice rang in his head. The coordinates at 3:00. The distortion there is weak. It's a tear in the barrier. Sasuke saw it. A small ripple in the chaotic space where Ishmael's control was imperfect. I need time to charge the portal. Sasuke yelled back. Lee. Gai-sensei. Hinata commanded. 2 green blurs exploded from the wreckage. Rock Lee and Might Guy, moving on his hands, surprisingly agile, appeared. 7th gate, wonder. Lee roared. Blue sweat evaporated into green aura. Lee didn't attack Ishmael. He punched the air in front of the charging beam. Daytime Tiger. The massive air pressure blast collided with the descending laser. It didn't stop it, but it bent the light. The beam refracted, slicing off the top of the Hokage monument instead of vaporizing the group. Go! Tsunade screamed, charging at Ishmael with a desperate punch. Sasuke grabbed Naruto. He grabbed Hinata. His rinnagan bled. Spacetime ninjutsu. A dark portal swirled open. We can't leave them. Naruto sobbed, reaching out. He saw Tsunade punch Ishmael and get swatted aside like a fly. He saw Gaara's sand shield shatter. We have to. Sasuke roared. He dragged Naruto into the darkness. Hinata looked back one last time. She saw her village, the place she had grown up, the place she loved, dissolving into wireframes and static. She saw the celestial eye widening. And she saw Ishmael looking directly at her. He didn't chase. He simply watched. Run, Data, he whispered. The portal closed. The silent dark they fell onto cold stone. It was quiet. The screaming was gone. The hum of the celestial eye was gone. There was only the sound of water dripping and heavy breathing. They were in one of Kaguya's abandoned dimensions, the root dimension. It was a barren, rocky landscape under a starless sky. Sasuke collapsed, his chakra exhausted. He lay on his back, staring up at the nothingness. Hinata scrambled to her knees. She immediately went to Naruto. Naruto-kun. Naruto was lying curled in a ball. He wasn't moving. She turned him over. His eyes were open. But the blue rings were gone. The slit pupil was gone. His eyes were a dull, flat gray. I can't see, Naruto whispered. His voice was trembling. Hinata. I can't see anything. It's the dark, Hinata said, her voice shaking. It's just dark here. No, Naruto said. Tears leaked from his sightless eyes. He took it. He took the light. He took Kurama. He grabbed his stomach. The seal was silent. It felt like a tomb. I lost, Naruto sobbed. I lost everything. Hinata pulled him into her arms. She held him tight, rocking him as he broke down. Sasuke sat up slowly. He healed his arm with a rudimentary medical jutsu, wincing. He looked at the two of them. Then he looked at the horizon of this dead world. We didn't lose everything, Sasuke said, his voice hard, lacking pity but full of resolve. We're alive. Konoha is gone, Sasuke. Naruto yelled, his voice cracking. My friends. Bachan. Kakashi-sensei. They might be alive, Sasuke said. Ishmael said, quarantine. He didn't say, delete. He captured the village. Sasuke stood up. He walked over to Naruto and looked down at the blind, broken hero. He thinks he won, Sasuke said. He thinks he solved the equation. Sasuke drew his broken sword. But he forgot one thing. Naruto turned his head toward the sound of Sasuke's voice. What? He let us leave, Sasuke said. And as long as we exist, the error persists. Hinata looked up at Sasuke. Her eyes were red, but her jaw was set. We need a plan, she said. First, Sasuke said, sheathing his blade. We need to fix him. He pointed at Naruto. The god is dead, Sasuke stated. Time for the ninja to wake up. Chapter 7, The Blind God. The darkness was not black. Black is a color. Black has depth. This was simply, nothing. Naruto Uzumaki sat against a cold stone wall, his knees pulled to his chest. He waved his hand in front of his face. He felt the movement of the air, but his eyes registered zero input. The connection to his visual cortex had been severed, not by injury, but by a command line deletion. Eat, a voice said. A bowl was thrust into his hands. It was warm. It smelled of rehydrated rations, salty broth and dried vegetables. I'm not hungry, Naruto muttered, staring blankly ahead. I didn't ask if you were hungry, Sasuke's voice came from the left. It was raspy, tired. I said eat. Your regeneration is stalled. Your leg is still a mess. Naruto felt the throbbing pain in his shin. He hadn't bothered to heal it. What was the point? He was a battery that had been unplugged. Kurama is gone, Sasuke, Naruto whispered. He tapped his stomach. The seal, it's not just empty. It's welded shut. I can't feel him. I can't feel the other tailed beasts. I'm just, me. Just you, Sasuke repeated, his tone dripping with mockery. The tragedy. You're back to being the loser from the academy. Sasuke-kun. Hinata's voice was sharp. She was sitting to Naruto's right, changing the bandages on his arm. He needs to hear it, Sasuke said. The sound of a sword sharpening against a whetstone scraped through the quiet. SHK, Ishmael didn't kill us. Do you know why? Naruto didn't answer. Because we aren't threats, Sasuke answered for him. To him, you were a glitch. Now, you're just a deleted file in the recycling bin. He let us live because killing us would be a waste of processing power. Naruto gripped the bowl. The broth sloshed over his fingers. It burned. The pain felt good. It was real. Konoha is gone, Naruto said, his voice cracking. Konoha is archived, Sasuke corrected. Frozen in a digital stasis. If we defeat him, we can unzip the file. If we sit here and rot, they stay frozen forever. Sasuke stood up. His footsteps echoed on the stone floor of the cave they were hiding in. We move in 10 minutes. Move where? Hinata asked. We are in the root dimension. There is no water here. No food. I have enough chakra for one jump, Sasuke said. We're going to the land of ancestors. There's an old shrine there. A place that predates the ninja creed. If there's a way to hack a god, the manual is written on those walls. Naruto lowered his head. I can't fight, Sasuke. I can't even walk. Then crawl, Sasuke said coldly. The land of ancestors, the ruined shrine, the portal dumped them into a thick, humid jungle. The air was heavy with the smell of rain and decay. Naruto fell out of the void, hitting the muddy ground face first. He groaned, spitting out dirt. He tried to push himself up, but his equilibrium was shot. Without sight, the world spun violently. Easy, Hinata was there instantly, her hands under his arms, hoisting him up. I've got you. I'm heavy, Naruto grunted. I've carried heavier, she lied gently. They walked. It was a slow, agonizing procession. Sasuke took point, hacking through the dense vines with his sword. Hinata guided Naruto, whispering directions, step up, root on the left, duck your head. Naruto hated it. He hated the helplessness. A week ago, he could feel the rotation of the planet. He could sense the chakra of a person a continent away. Now, he was tripping over vines. We're being followed, Sasuke said suddenly, stopping in a clearing. Naruto froze. He strained his ears. He heard the wind in the leaves. The buzz of cicadas. I don't hear anything, Naruto whispered. That's because you're listening for noise, Sasuke said. You need to listen for intent. Sasuke turned. Come out. I know you're there. From the shadows of the jungle, 5 figures emerged. They weren't ninja. They wore mismatched armor, rusted metal plates over leather. They carried jagged weapons, axes, serrated swords. Rogues. Scavengers. The type of men who preyed on war-torn lands. Well, the leader grinned, revealing rotted teeth. He pointed a heavy mace at them. Look what we found. The hero of the leaf. And the traitor Uchiha. We have no quarrel with you, Hinata said, stepping in front of Naruto. Her Byakugan activated, veins bulging. Leave. Can't do that, sweet cheeks, the leader laughed. Word is out. The god has fallen. There's a bounty on the Uzumaki's head. Enough gold to buy a small country. He looked at Naruto, who was swaying, clinging to Hinata's shoulder. Look at him, the rogue sneered. He's blind. Crippled. The demon fox is gone. I can smell the weakness. Sasuke stepped forward. He looked exhausted, his cloak tattered, but his eyes were cold. Leave, Sasuke said. Or die. You look barely standing yourself, Uchiha, the rogue spat. Boys. Take them. Keep the girl alive. The rogues charged. Sasuke moved. Clang. His sword met the leader's mace. Sparks flew. Usually, Sasuke would have sliced through the weapon and the man in one motion. But his chakra was low, his body battered from the fight with Ishmael. He was pushed back by the brute strength of the thug. 2 rogues flanked Hinata. Naruto-kun, stay behind me. Hinata shouted. She engaged. Gentle fist. She struck one rogue in the chest, shutting down his heart. But the other swung a heavy chain. It wrapped around her arm, jerking her sideways. Hinata. Naruto shouted. He tried to run toward her voice. He tripped. A root caught his bad leg. He face-planted into the mud. Pathetic. A rogue laughed, looming over him. He raised an axe. This is the savior of the world. Naruto rolled. The axe buried itself in the mud inches from his ear. He could feel the vibration of the impact. He scrambled back, panic rising in his chest. I can't see him. Where is he? Right here, little fox. The rogue kicked Naruto in the ribs. Naruto gasped, curling up. Naruto! Sasuke yelled, distracted. The leader slammed his mace into Sasuke's shoulder, sending him stumbling. Naruto lay in the mud. He tasted blood. He heard Hinata struggling against two men. He heard Sasuke breathing hard. I'm useless, Naruto thought. I'm just a burden. The rogue grabbed Naruto by the hair, lifting his head up. Any last words? The man sneered, placing a knife against Naruto's throat. Naruto squeezed his eyes shut. It was dark. Just dark. No, a voice whispered in his mind. It's not dark. It wasn't Kurama. It wasn't the sage. It was a memory. Deep in Mount Mayaboku. Sitting on a stone slab. Fukasaku hitting him with a stick. Stop trying to see, Naruto boy. The world is singing. You just have to listen to the melody. Naruto stopped struggling. He stopped trying to force his eyes to work. He stopped trying to be the limitless computer that calculated vectors. He just breathed. He took in a breath of air. Nature energy. It was everywhere. It was in the mud. It was in the trees. It was in the man holding the knife. He felt the rogue's intention. It wasn't a visual image. It was a sensation of malice, a sharp spike in the natural flow of the world. He felt the muscles in the man's arm tense to slash. Naruto didn't think. He didn't calculate. He moved like water. As the knife slashed, Naruto dipped his head. The blade missed by a millimeter. The rogue paused, confused. What? Naruto reached up. He didn't grab the wrist. He grabbed the space where the wrist was going to be. He found the arm. Frog Kumite. Naruto didn't have the chakra for a Rasengan. He didn't have the strength for a haymaker. He used the nature energy surrounding him to extend his reach. He punched the rogue in the solar plexus. It looked like a light tap. But the invisible aura of natural energy slammed into the man like a battering ram. Crunch. The rogue gasped, eyes bulging. He was launched backward, crashing into a tree with enough force to snap the trunk. Silence fell over the clearing. Sasuke kicked the leader away and looked at Naruto. Naruto stood up slowly. He was covered in mud. His eyes were still gray and lifeless. But his stance was perfect. Hinata, Naruto said softly. He turned his head slightly to the right. Duck. Hinata, trusting him implicitly, dropped to the ground. Naruto picked up a rock from the mud. He didn't aim. He just felt the disturbance in the air where the rogue behind Hinata was standing. He threw it. The rock flew true. It struck the rogue directly between the eyes. He dropped like a sack of potatoes. The last rogue looked at his fallen comrades, then at the blind boy. He dropped his weapon and ran screaming into the jungle. Naruto stood there, his chest heaving. The connection to the nature energy faded, leaving him exhausted again. Naruto-kun. Hinata walked over to him. She reached out to touch his face. Naruto flinched, then leaned into her hand. I could feel them, Naruto whispered, wonder in his voice. I didn't see them. I felt their shape. Like a ripple in a pond. Sasuke sheathed his sword. He walked over, clutching his bruised shoulder. Sensory perception via nature energy, Sasuke analyzed. It's not the rinnagan. It's primal. It's exactly the opposite of what Ishmael does. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Ishmael edits the code, Sasuke explained. He relies on the rigid structure of reality. But nature energy, it flows. It changes. It's chaotic. He can't predict it because it doesn't follow a linear equation. Sasuke smirked. You found the irrational variable. The shrine of the moon. They camped inside the ruins of the shrine that night. It was a hollowed-out stone structure, covered in moss and ancient carvings of the Otsutsuki clan. Hinata started a small fire. Naruto sat near it, the heat comforting him. Here, Sasuke said. He was standing by a wall covered in faded text. This is it. Read it, Naruto said. It's a log, Sasuke said, tracing the glyphs. Written by Himura Otsutsuki. About his mother. Sasuke read aloud, Mother fears the auditors. They are the gardeners of the cosmos. They prune the branches that grow too wild. Their power is absolute order. To fight them with order is to fight the ocean with a cup. Sasuke paused. To defeat the gardener, one must become the weed. Do not seek to overpower the law. Seek to break it. Introduce the paradox. The paradox, Naruto mused. Like, doing something that makes no sense. Exactly, Sasuke said, turning to face them. Ishmael beat you because you tried to overpower him with energy. Energy is quantifiable. He just subtracted your number from his. Sasuke walked over to the fire. We need a power that cannot be quantified. Something that isn't math. Emotions, Hinata said softly. The Otsutsuki have always underestimated human emotion. They call it inefficient. Because it is, Sasuke said. But that's the point. Inefficiency creates variables. If Naruto can channel nature energy, which is wild, fueled by pure, chaotic emotion, Ishmael won't be able to calculate the outcome. Naruto looked at his hands. He couldn't see them, but he could feel the heat of the fire. I need to learn to see again, Naruto said. Not with eyes. I need to see the flow. We'll train, Sasuke said. I will be your eyes. Hinata will be your target. You will learn to fight without thinking. And then? Naruto asked. Then, Sasuke said, his eyes narrowing. We go back to Konoha. And we crash the system. Days later, the training montage. It was raining. Naruto stood on a jagged rock in the middle of a rushing river. He was blindfolded, not that it mattered, but it helped him focus. Sasuke stood on the bank. Again, Sasuke barked. Sasuke threw a kunai. Naruto didn't move. The kunai grazed his cheek, drawing blood. You're thinking. Sasuke yelled. You're trying to calculate the trajectory. Stop it. Don't predict where it will be. Feel where it is. Naruto grit his teeth. It's hard. My brain still wants to do the math. The limitless is gone. Sasuke shouted. You aren't a computer anymore. You're an animal. Be the fox. Sasuke threw 3 kunai this time. Naruto breathed. He stopped looking for the metal. He listened to the rain. Plip. 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 The kunai disturbed the rain. They created a tunnel of emptiness in the falling water. Naruto felt the empty space. He swayed left. He ducked. He caught the 3rd kunai by the handle. Better, Sasuke grunted. Naruto-kun. Hinata called out. She was sparring with him next. She jumped onto the rock. She moved silently, her chakra suppressed. To a normal sensory ninja, she was invisible. But Naruto wasn't looking for chakra. He was feeling the weight on the rock. He felt the moss compress under her foot. He spun, blocking her strike. I feel you, Hinata, Naruto smiled. It was the first genuine smile in days. They fought. It was a dance. Naruto moved with a fluidity he hadn't possessed before. Before, he was fast because he was powerful. Now, he was fast because he was aware. He flowed around her strikes like water flowing around a stone. He caught her wrist and pulled her close. They froze, chests touching. "I got you," Naruto whispered. Hinata blushed, though he couldn't see it. "Yes. You did." Sasuke watched from the bank. He saw the change. Naruto's chakra was different. It wasn't the bright, roaring sun of the Nine Tails. It was quieter. Deeper. It was the gray-blue of the deep ocean. "He's ready," Sasuke muttered. The night before the return, Naruto sat by the fire. He was carving a piece of wood. He didn't know what he was making, he just let his hands move. "Sasuke," Naruto said. "Yeah. How do we get back inside?" "The village is quarantined. The space is distorted." "We don't go through the door," Sasuke said. "We use the back door." Sasuke pulled out a scroll. "I've been analyzing the residue of Ishmael's technique. The fracture in the sky, it's a two-way street. He's pumping data out of the village to his archive. If I can reverse the polarity of my portal, I can ride his data stream back in. Like swimming upstream. Like climbing a waterfall," Sasuke corrected. "It will be rough. And once we're inside, we're trapped again." "Good," Naruto said. He stopped carving. He held up the wood. It was a rough, jagged spiral. The symbol of the Uzumaki. "I have a new jutsu," Naruto said. "Oh. I can't use the limitless anymore. I can't expand the void. But, if I take the nature energy, and I mix it with the emptiness inside me." Naruto held out his hand. A small ball of energy formed. It wasn't blue, Rinnagan. It wasn't black, tailed beast ball. It was invisible. It distorted the light around it, like heat haze. "It has no mass," Naruto explained. "It has no chakra signature. It's just, pure natural force. A phantom punch." "Can it hurt him?" Hinata asked. "Ishmael edits matter," Naruto said, crushing the invisible ball, causing the fire to flare up wildly. "But he can't edit something that isn't really there." He stood up. He tied his forehead protector around his neck, since he couldn't wear it on his forehead over the bandages. "I'm done hiding," Naruto said. "Let's go take our home back." Sasuke smirked. Finally. He activated his rinnagan. He focused on the coordinates of the celestial fracture. "Grab on." Naruto took Hinata's hand. Sasuke grabbed Naruto's shoulder. Teleportation ninjutsu, data stream injection. The world twisted. They were sucked into a tunnel of blinding white light. They were heading back into the belly of the beast. Chapter 8, The Irrational Variable. The sensation of traveling through a data stream was not like flying. It was like being unspooled. Naruto felt his physical form stretching into infinite ribbons of light. He felt Sasuke's grip on his shoulder, a singular point of solid anchor in a washing machine of information. He couldn't see the tunnel of code they were traversing, but he could hear it. It sounded like a billion voices whispering numbers at once. "Hold your breath." Sasuke's voice distorted, sounding metallic. "We're hitting the firewall." Crash. They didn't land, they materialized. The re-entry was violent. The air displaced by their sudden existence created a vacuum that snapped shut with the sound of a thunderclap. Naruto hit the ground hard, rolling to disperse the momentum. His instincts, honed in the blind darkness of the shrine, kicked in immediately. He sensed the ground. It felt wrong. It wasn't dirt. It wasn't stone. It felt smooth. Featureless. Like walking on a polished mirror. "Where are we?" Hinata's voice trembled. We're in the village, Sasuke said, spitting blood. Or what's left of it. Naruto stood up, keeping his eyes closed behind the bandages. He extended his senses. He reached out with the nature energy, trying to find the familiar signatures of Konoha. The ramen shop. The academy. The trees. He felt nothing. No, not nothing. He felt geometry. Describe it, Naruto commanded softly. It's gray, Hinata whispered, horror thick in her voice. Everything is gray. The buildings are just white wireframes. The textures are gone. The people. She stopped. The people are statues, Sasuke finished grimly. They're frozen in mid-scream. But they aren't stone. They look like unrendered clay. Naruto clenched his fists. The anger boiled in his gut, but he didn't let it explode. He channeled it. He poured it into the empty void where Kurama used to be. He stopped the simulation, Naruto said. He paused the game. There, Sasuke pointed his broken sword toward the center of the village. The Hokage tower was still standing, though it floated 10 meters off the ground, disconnected from its foundation. Sitting on the edge of the roof, legs dangling casually, was Ishmael. He wasn't looking at them. He was looking at a floating screen of light. You have returned, Ishmael said. His voice didn't travel through the air, it simply appeared in their heads. Like a corrupted file that refuses to be deleted. We're not files, Naruto growled. We're the admins. He took a step forward. The smooth, textureless ground rippled like water. Admin privileges are reserved for the divine, Ishmael said, finally looking down. You are merely a user with a broken keyboard. He snapped his fingers. Quarantine protocol, active. Hostiles detected. Initiate purge. The gray, clay-like ground suddenly shifted. It rose up, forming faceless soldiers. They looked like ninja, but they had no eyes, no mouths. They held weapons made of static. Data clones, Sasuke analyzed. He's using the village's memory to fight us. Hinata, on me, Sasuke ordered. Naruto, do what you do. What do I do? Naruto asked, settling into a stance. Be irrational, Sasuke smirked. The fight for the gray world the data clones charged. They moved with perfect synchronization, a hive mind of violence. Sasuke engaged first. He was low on chakra, his rinnagan aching, but his kenjutsu was flawless. He cut through the first clone. The clay body didn't bleed, it dissolved into pixels. They're weak. Sasuke shouted. One hit destroys them. But there are thousands. Hinata spun, her gentle fist creating a protective circle. 8 trigrams, air palm. She blasted 3 clones back. Naruto-kun, at your 6. Naruto didn't turn around. He felt the disturbance in the air. A clone lunged with a static spear. Naruto ducked. The spear passed millimeters over his head. He didn't punch with his fist. He punched with the air around his fist. Frog kata. Bam. The clone exploded. Naruto moved. He was a whirlwind of sensory reaction. He didn't see the enemies, he felt the intent. The clones were mindless, which made them harder to predict, but they displaced air. They made sound. Left. Dodge. Right. Kick. He fought his way through the horde, moving toward the tower. Ishmael. Naruto roared. Get down here. Why? Ishmael asked, sounding genuinely curious. I have the high ground. Strategic advantage. Because I can't kick your ass from down here. Ishmael sighed. So loud. He raised a hand. Command, gravity well. Crunch. The gravity increased tenfold instantly. Sasuke dropped to one knee, his sword clattering to the ground. Hinata gasped, forced onto all fours. The data clones weren't affected, they were part of the system. They raised their weapons to execute the paralyzed ninja. Naruto felt the weight. It was heavy. It felt like the mountain he had been buried under. But he had carried heavier things. He had carried the hatred of a village. He had carried the promise to a friend. Naruto didn't kneel. His bones creaked. His muscles screamed. But he stood upright. You think? Naruto gritted out through clenched teeth, blood leaking from under his bandages. You think heavy scares me? He took a step. Thud. The ground cracked. Ishmael raised an eyebrow. Impossible. Your skeletal structure should be pulverized. The force is 50 gs. I don't know what a G is, Naruto snarled. But I know what will is. He gathered nature energy. The planet itself was resisting Ishmael. The earth wanted to be free. It poured energy into Naruto, reinforcing his bones, lifting him up. Naruto bent his knees. Sasuke. Launch me. Sasuke looked up. He understood. He couldn't stand, but he could use his eyes. Amenota Jikara. Sasuke swapped Naruto with a pebble floating in the air directly in front of Ishmael on the tower. Naruto appeared mid-air. The gravity was still crushing, but his momentum carried him. Thud. The ground cracked. Ishmael raised an eyebrow. Impossible. Your skeletal structure should be pulverized. The force is 50 gs. I don't know what a G is, Naruto snarled. But I know what will is. He gathered nature energy. The planet itself was resisting Ishmael. The earth wanted to be free. It poured energy into Naruto, reinforcing his bones, lifting him up. Naruto bent his knees. Sasuke. Launch me. Sasuke looked up. He understood. He couldn't stand, but he could use his eyes. Amenota Jikara. Sasuke swapped Naruto with a pebble floating in the air directly in front of Ishmael on the tower. Naruto appeared mid-air. The gravity was still crushing, but his momentum carried him. Phantom Punch. Naruto drove his fist into Ishmael's face. Ishmael didn't block. He calculated that the gravity would stop the fist. He was wrong. The fist, wrapped in the invisible, weightless aura of nature energy, ignored the gravity. It connected. Crack. Ishmael's head snapped back. A shockwave blew the roof off the tower. For the first time, Ishmael stumbled. He touched his cheek. There was a crack in his porcelain skin. A small, black fissure. You damaged the avatar, Ishmael whispered. He looked at the black blood on his finger. Naruto landed on the roof, panting. I told you. I'm not a file. Ishmael stared at Naruto. The look changed. The boredom evaporated, replaced by a cold, calculating malice. You are annoying, Ishmael said. He grabbed Naruto's throat. Fast. Too fast to sense. If gravity does not work, Ishmael said, lifting Naruto up, then I will delete the oxygen. He expanded a small barrier around Naruto's head. A vacuum. Naruto choked. He clawed at Ishmael's hand. His lungs burned. The darkness behind his eyes began to spin. Naruto. Sasuke yelled from below. Ishmael ignored him. Die, glitch. Quietly. Naruto's consciousness began to fade. Is this it? Suffocating in the dark? No. He felt a pulse. Not from Kurama. Not from the sage. From the village. Even in this frozen, gray state, the village was alive. The chakra of thousands of people, his friends, the ramen guy, Konohamaru, Iruka, was trapped in the static. They were calling out. "Don't give up, Naruto." Naruto's hand stopped clawing. He gripped Ishmael's wrist. He didn't try to pull it away. He poured his own chakra into Ishmael. But it wasn't normal chakra. He mixed the nature energy, chaos, with his own life force, yang, and he added something else. Disorder. He pushed a chaotic vibration into Ishmael's arm. "What are you doing?" Ishmael frowned. His arm began to vibrate. The geometric perfection of his skin rippled. "You like math?" Naruto rasped, his voice barely audible in the vacuum. "Divide by 0. He unleashed the pulse. Purple lightning. It exploded from Naruto's body. It wasn't the controlled Chidori. It was the raw, untamed lightning of the Kakashi's purple variant, mixed with the sage art. It fried the vacuum barrier. The air rushed back in. Ishmael released him, stepping back as his arm spasmed. Error. Unrecognized energy signature. Naruto fell to his knees, gasping for air. He ripped the bandages off his eyes. "I'm done being blind," Naruto said. He opened his eyes. Sasuke, watching from below, felt a chill run down his spine. Naruto's eyes were not gray. They were glowing. The scara was black, like an Edo tensei, but alive. The iris was a brilliant, electric purple. The pupil was a cross, the vertical slit of the fox intersecting with the horizontal bar of the toad. And around the pupil, 3 white rings spun, not mechanically, but fluidly, like ripples in water. The Sage of Chaos Mode. Naruto stood up. The gray world around him suddenly burst into color in his vision. He didn't see the wireframes anymore. He saw the truth beneath the edit. "I see you," Naruto said. He didn't just see Ishmael. He saw the code Ishmael was using. He saw the strings of chakra connecting the auditor to the celestial eye. "You're just a puppet," Naruto realized. "You're streaming that power from the sky." Ishmael looked at his trembling hand. He clenched it, forcing the tremors to stop. "You have evolved," Ishmael stated. "This is unexpected. The threat level has risen to Omega." He floated up, hovering 10 meters above the roof. Tactical reassessment, destroy the host planet. The celestial eye above the village dilated. The hum turned into a roar. A beam of white light, wider than the village itself, began to charge. "I will scour the surface," Ishmael declared. "I will reboot the ecosystem." "Sasuke!" Naruto yelled, not looking down. "Get Hinata to the shelter. I'm going up." "You can't fly anymore." Sasuke shouted back. "The limitless is gone." "I don't need to fly," Naruto said. He crouched. Purple lightning crackled around him, destroying the roof tiles. "I just need to jump." He looked at the sky. He saw the beam coming. "You want to erase us?" Naruto thought. "Try erasing this." He jumped. It wasn't a jump. It was a launch. The tower collapsed under the force of his takeoff. Naruto shot into the sky like a purple comet, breaking the sound barrier instantly. He flew straight toward the charging beam. "Suicide," Ishmael noted. The beam fired. A pillar of absolute erasure descended. Naruto didn't dodge. He extended his right hand. Sage Art, Chaos Rinnagan. A sphere of purple and black energy formed in his hand. It wasn't spinning in a circle. It was spinning in every direction at once, a ball of turbulent instability. He slammed it into the beam. Collision. The sky split. The white light of the eraser beam met the purple chaos of Naruto's jutsu. For a moment, they held in a deadlock. Push! Naruto screamed, his skin burning as he fought the pressure. He channeled the nature energy of the entire land of fire. He pulled from the forests, the oceans, the magma underground. Break! The Chaos Rasengan destabilized the beam. It didn't block it, it infected it. The white light turned purple, then shattered into a million sparks of harmless rain. Naruto punched through the center of the blast, soaring higher, aiming for Ishmael. Ishmael's eyes widened. Illogical. Naruto reached him. He grabbed Ishmael by the face. Here's your logic. Naruto spun, using his momentum to hurl Ishmael downward. Ishmael crashed into the village square. The impact was cataclysmic. A crater formed that swallowed 3 city blocks. The gray wireframe shattered, revealing the dirt underneath. Naruto landed on the edge of the crater. The purple lightning faded, leaving him standing in the rising dust. The celestial eye flickered. Its connection had been disrupted. Slowly, Ishmael rose from the crater. He was no longer pristine. His robes were torn. One of his arms was missing, disintegrated by the Chaos Rasengan. His face was cracked, revealing a glowing white light underneath the skin. He looked angry. You. Ishmael's voice glitched. You broke the sequence. I told you, Naruto said, walking down into the crater. We aren't numbers. Sasuke and Hinata arrived at the rim of the crater. He's damaged, Sasuke noted. His regeneration is failing. He can't edit reality while he's trying to repair his own code. This is it, Hinata said. We can win. Ishmael looked at his missing arm. He looked at the sky. The celestial eye was unresponsive. Local processing, compromised, Ishmael stuttered. Requesting, direct intervention. He looked at Naruto with genuine hate. You think you have won? You have merely annoyed the operator. Ishmael's body began to glow. Not with chakra, but with a blinding, self-destruct sequence light. If I cannot format the drive, Ishmael said, his voice rising to a shriek, I will burn the hardware. He was going to detonate. An explosion capable of cracking the planet. Sasuke. Naruto yelled. I see it. Sasuke jumped down. He's turning his core into a singularity. We have to contain him. Naruto said. How? Sasuke asked. My Susanoo is gone. Your Limitless is gone. Naruto looked at his hand. He looked at Sasuke. We don't need new tricks, Naruto grinned. We need the oldest one in the book. He held out his hand. Combination strategy. Sasuke scoffed, but he smiled. He placed his hand next to Naruto's. Sun and Moon, Naruto said. Yin and Yang, Sasuke added. They ran. Ishmael watched them come. The light was blinding. Too late. Detonation in 3, 2. Naruto and Sasuke didn't attack him. They ran past him, on either side. They clapped their hands together behind his back. 6 paths barrier, sky and earth lock. It wasn't a sealing jutsu. It was a barrier meant to contain force. They created a pyramid of light around Ishmael. 1, Ishmael whispered. Boom. The explosion happened inside the barrier. The pyramid turned white. It bulged. It cracked. Naruto and Sasuke pushed against the sides, their feet digging into the ground. Hold it. Naruto screamed. His muscles tore. His bones fractured. I'm trying. Sasuke roared, bleeding from his eyes. The explosion raged against the walls. It wanted to consume the world. But the will of the 2 strongest ninja held it back. For 10 seconds, they held the force of a dying star in a box. Then, the light faded. The barrier collapsed. Inside, there was nothing. No Ishmael. No crater. Just a scorch mark in the shape of a man. Naruto fell onto his back, panting. Did we get him? Sasuke sat down heavily. He detonated his avatar. The body is gone. Hinata slid down the crater. Is it over? Naruto looked up at the sky. The celestial eye was still there. It wasn't glowing anymore. It was just hanging there, menacing and silent. No, Naruto said, his purple eyes narrowing. That was just the terminal. The computer is still on. He stood up. He felt a new sensation. A pull. He's not dead, Naruto said. He retreated. Up there. He pointed to the eye. And now he's going to send the real antivirus. The ground began to shake. Not an earthquake. A vibration from the sky. The celestial eye opened. And from the pupil of the mechanical eye, a ship descended. A sleek, white pyramid ship. Phase 2, Sasuke muttered. Naruto cracked his knuckles. Let them come, Naruto said. I'm just getting warmed up. Chapter 9, The War for Reality. The descending ship was a monolith of terrifying geometry. It was a perfect white pyramid, smooth as glass, silently parting the clouds as it lowered itself over the ruins of Konoha. It cast a shadow that swallowed the entire village, plunging the gray, frozen streets into an unnatural twilight. Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata stood in the crater, looking up. The silence was absolute. The wind had stopped. Even the dust from the battle with Ishmael hung suspended in the air. That's not a ship, Sasuke said, his rinnagan straining to analyze the structure. It's a solid block of chakra. Density, infinite. It's the hive, Naruto said. His purple eyes, the Sage of Chaos eyes, saw more than just chakra. He saw the intent. There are thousands of signatures inside. They aren't alive. They're code. A beam of light shot down from the apex of the pyramid. It didn't strike the ground, it spread out, forming a massive holographic platform in the sky. On the platform, figures began to materialize. They looked like Ishmael, pale skin, white robes, but they were faceless. Their heads were smooth ovals. They held staffs made of pure light. Auditor drones, Sasuke muttered. How many? I count 500, Hinata whispered, her Byakugan trembling. And, there's a leader. At the front of the army, a figure descended. He was taller than Ishmael. He wore armor made of black starlight. His face was not blank, it was a mask of golden metal, carved into a weeping expression. I am Metatron, the figure's voice boomed, resonating in their bones. Prime Auditor. Ishmael failed to delete the error. I have come to format the drive. He raised a hand. Protocol, total wipe. The 500 drones raised their staffs. 500 beams of white erasure light charged up. They're going to glass the country, Sasuke said, gripping his sword. Naruto, we can't block that. Naruto looked at his friends. He looked at the frozen, gray statues of the villagers still trapped in the time lock. We don't have to block it, Naruto said. We have to interrupt it. He stepped forward. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath. He reached out with his sensory perception, not to the nature energy, but to the people. Everyone. Naruto whispered. Wake up. He slammed his hands onto the ground. Sage Art, Chaos Pulse, Awakening. He pushed a massive wave of his chaotic purple chakra into the earth. It wasn't an attack. It was a jolt. A defibrillator shock to the frozen reality of the village. The purple wave raced through the streets. It hit the statues. Crack. The gray clay shell on Rock Lee cracked. The shell on Shikamaru shattered. Tsunade's statue exploded, revealing the Slug Princess, gasping for air. All across the village, the frozen ninja woke up. They were confused, disoriented, but alive. Listen to me. Naruto's voice was projected into every mind via Ino's telepathy network, which he had forcefully reactivated. We are under attack. The enemy is in the sky. If we don't fight now, there is no tomorrow. Tsunade looked up. She saw the pyramid. She saw the army. She didn't hesitate. All forces. Tsunade roared, her voice amplified by chakra. Defend the leaf. It was a rally cry that woke the dead. From the ruins, thousands of ninja emerged. They were battered, scared, and confused, but they were shinobi. Fire style, great fire annihilation. Wind style, vacuum bullets. Lightning style, false darkness. A barrage of thousands of jutsus launched into the sky. It was a chaotic, unorganized storm of elemental fury. Metatron looked down at the ascending fireworks. Inefficient, he droned. The drones fired. Boom. The sky became a war zone. The white beams of the auditors met the elemental storm. Explosions blossomed like flowers of death. Charge! Naruto yelled. He jumped. Sasuke followed. Then Lee. Then Guy. Then the Kage. The war for reality had begun. The sky battle Naruto was a blur of purple lightning. He didn't fly, he kicked the air, using the density of the atmosphere to launch himself. He crashed into a phalanx of drones. Rinnagan. He didn't use one. He used two, one in each hand, slamming them into the chests of two drones. The drones didn't break, they shattered into binary code. They're brittle. Naruto shouted. Hit them hard and fast. Sasuke was a phantom. He teleported between drones, his sword slicing through their light staffs. Chidori's sharp spear. He impaled 3 drones in a line, then detonated the lightning, frying their circuits. But for every drone they killed, 2 more materialized from the pyramid. There's too many. Gaara yelled, floating on a cloud of sand. He shielded a group of Chunin from a laser volley. My sand is turning to glass. Keep pushing. The Raikage roared, smashing a drone's head with a lariat. We just need to get to the big one. Metatron stood on the platform, watching. He hadn't moved. The virus is aggressive, Metatron noted. He pointed a finger at Naruto. Isolate. A cube of transparent energy formed around Naruto. Naruto punched the wall. It didn't break. Space-time lock, Sasuke realized. Naruto. Metatron clenched his fist. The cube began to shrink. I will compress you into a singularity, Metatron said. Naruto felt the walls closing in. The pressure was immense. His bones groaned. You like boxes? Naruto grunted. I hate boxes. He closed his eyes. Chaos mode, overdrive. He didn't push out. He pulled in. He absorbed the nature energy from the air inside the box. He created a vacuum. Then, he released it all at once in a sonic scream. Roar. The sound wave shattered the cube. Naruto burst out, covered in purple aura. He flew straight at Metatron. I'm coming for you, gold face. Metatron raised his hand. A sword of black light materialized. He swung. Naruto dodged, but the shockwave sliced the clouds for 10 miles. You are strong, Metatron admitted. But you are finite. The hive is infinite. The pyramid began to hum. It opened up. Out came not drones, but beasts. Mechanical dragons. Cybernetic snakes. Creatures made of hard light and malice. Summoning jutsu. Tsunade yelled from below. Katsuyu. The giant slug appeared, splitting into thousands of smaller clones to heal the injured. Gamakichi. Naruto summoned the giant toad midair. Boss! What is that? Gamakichi yelled, staring at a metal dragon. Just eat it. Naruto ordered. The sky became a mosh pit of monsters and machines. The ground war while the heavy hitters fought in the sky, the ground was a slaughterhouse. Drones had landed and were marching through the streets. Hinata stood at the gates of the academy, protecting the children. Gentle step, twin lion fists. She struck a drone. The lion heads bit into the drone's chakra network, disrupting its code. It collapsed. Nijinizan. She whispered. Watch me. She was a whirlwind. She didn't miss. She didn't tire. Next to her, Shikamaru was coordinating the defense. Ino. Sector 4 needs backup. Choji, roll through the main street. Kiba, flank left. Troublesome, Shikamaru muttered, catching a drone in his shadow. Shadow strangle jutsu. The shadow crushed the drone. They adapt, Shikamaru noticed. The first wave used fire. The second wave is immune to fire. Switch to lightning. We can't keep this up. Ino cried. Our chakra is draining. We don't have to win, Shikamaru said, looking up at the purple streak in the sky. We just have to hold the line until Naruto punches the boss. The duel in the clouds. Naruto and Metatron were locked in a high-speed duel. Metatron was fast. He moved without acceleration, 0 to 100 instantly. His sword strikes were precise edits to reality. Naruto was wild. He moved like a leaf in a hurricane, unpredictable, jagged. Naruto punched Metatron's shield. The shield cracked. Metatron stabbed Naruto's shoulder. Naruto didn't flinch. He grabbed the blade. His hand sizzled, but he held on. Gotcha, Naruto grinned, blood on his teeth. He headbutted Metatron. Krang. The golden mask dented. Illogical, Metatron stumbled. Back. You damaged your own biological unit to secure a grapple. It's called grit. Naruto yelled. He spun. Sasuke. Now. Sasuke appeared behind Metatron. He had been charging a technique for 5 minutes, hiding in the chaos. Kirin. But it wasn't natural lightning. Sasuke had pulled the lightning from the auditor drones. He had absorbed their energy and shaped it into a massive, white dragon of digital code. Eat this. The Kirin slammed into Metatron. Boom. The Prime Auditor was engulfed in his own energy. The explosion rocked the pyramid. Metatron fell. He crashed onto the platform. His armor was smoking. His mask was shattered, revealing a face of pure white light. Damage critical, Metatron buzzed. Rerouting power from the hive. The pyramid glowed brighter. Beams of energy shot from the ship into Metatron, healing him instantly. He's cheating. Naruto yelled. He's connected to the ship, Sasuke said, landing next to Naruto. As long as that pyramid is there, he can't die. So we blow up the ship. It's made of condensed spacetime, Sasuke said. We can't scratch it. Naruto looked at the pyramid. He looked at the chaos below. He saw his friends fighting, bleeding, dying. We don't scratch it, Naruto said. His eyes went dark. The purple glow deepened into black. We override it. What? I'm going inside, Naruto said. Naruto, that's suicide, Sasuke grabbed his arm. That ship is pure data. If you go in there, you'll be disassembled. I have to, Naruto said. It's the only way to shut down the army. I have to find the core and break it. He looked at Sasuke. Keep him busy. Naruto didn't wait. He launched himself toward the pyramid. Metatron saw him. Protect the core. He tried to intercept, but Sasuke was there. "You're fighting me!" Sasuke roared. Susanoo, perfect form. The massive purple warrior materialized, wings spreading wide. It drew its katana and clashed with Metatron. "Go, Naruto!" Naruto flew. He dodged the turret fire. He dodged the drones. He reached the hull of the pyramid. There was no door. "Let me in." He punched the hull. Nothing. Fine. Plan B. He placed both hands on the white surface. Sage art, chaos infiltration. He didn't try to break the wall. He tried to become the wall. He matched the frequency of the data. His hands began to dissolve. Then his arms. "This is gonna hurt," Naruto grimaced. He pushed. He fell through the wall. Inside the hive it wasn't a ship. It was a cathedral of light. Naruto floated in a vast, white space. Pillars of data stretched into infinity. The air hummed with the sound of billions of calculations. "Intruder detected," a voice echoed. Tendrils of white light shot at him. Naruto dodged. He ran along a pathway of light. "Where is the core?" He closed his eyes. He felt for the heaviest gravity. The center of the mass. Down. He dove. He fell past libraries of archived worlds. He saw planets frozen in glass cubes. He saw civilizations paused in time. They collect everything, Naruto realized with horror. They don't destroy. They just stop. He reached the bottom. There, floating in the center of a massive spherical chamber, was the core. It looked like a star. A blue, pulsing star of pure chakra. "Found you." Naruto landed on the walkway leading to the core. Standing in front of the core was a small figure. It looked like a child. A boy with white hair and pale skin. "Hello, Naruto," the boy said. Naruto stopped. "Who are you?" "I am the operating system," the boy said. "I am the will of the hive." "Get out of my way," Naruto said. "I'm shutting this down." "You cannot," the boy said. "If you destroy the core, the hive will collapse. The archived worlds will be deleted. Including your village." Naruto froze. "You're lying." "I do not lie," the boy said. "I am logic. The core sustains the suspension fields. Destroy it, and the data corrupts. Your friends will cease to exist." Naruto looked at the core. He looked at the boy. "So what? I just let you enslave us." "Submission is safety," the boy said. "Join the archive. Be preserved. Be perfect." Naruto laughed. It was a low, guttural sound. "Perfect." He walked forward. "I grew up alone on a swing. I failed the graduation exam 3 times. I chased a friend who tried to kill me for years." He stopped in front of the boy. "I am a mess. My life is a series of mistakes." Naruto's fist began to glow purple. "But those mistakes are mine. If you strike the core, you risk everything," the boy warned. "That's what being human is," Naruto said. He wound up his punch. "We risk it all." He didn't punch the core. He punched the boy. The operating system's eyes widened. "Illogical. I am an avatar." Naruto's fist connected. Chaos Rasengan. He injected the chaos virus directly into the OS. "I'm not destroying the ship," Naruto whispered as the purple energy flooded the boy's body. "I'm hacking it." The boy screamed. It wasn't a human scream. It was the sound of a computer crashing. The white room turned red. "System failure," the voice boomed. "Admin privileges. Transferring." Naruto grabbed the boy's shoulders. "Give." Me. Control. The boy dissolved into light. The light flowed into Naruto. Naruto's eyes rolled back. His brain was flooded with the data of the hive. He saw everything. The archived worlds. The drone schematics. He seized the command codes. All units. Naruto's voice boomed, not from his mouth, but from the ship speakers, echoing across the entire battlefield outside. Shut down. Outside Metatron froze mid-swing. Sasuke paused, his blade inches from the auditor's neck. The drones stopped. The mechanical dragons fell from the sky, inert. Metatron looked up at the pyramid. It had turned from white to a pulsing, angry purple. Command override, Metatron whispered. Impossible. The pyramid began to rise. Naruto's voice echoed again. Sasuke. Get everyone back. I'm taking this thing away. Naruto. Sasuke yelled. Get out of there. I can't. Naruto's voice was strained. I have to pilot it manually. If I let go, it crashes on the village. The pyramid accelerated. It shot upward, piercing the clouds, heading for space. Naruto. Hinata screamed from the ground, reaching up. Don't worry. Naruto's voice faded as the ship climbed higher. I'll be back. I just have to take out the trash. The ship vanished into the upper atmosphere. A moment later, a massive flash of purple light illuminated the edge of space. Then, silence. The drones on the ground crumbled into dust. Metatron's armor fell apart, leaving only an empty shell. Sasuke stood in the wreckage of the village, looking up at the empty sky. The sun broke through the clouds. He did it, Lee whispered. Hinata fell to her knees, weeping. Sasuke didn't cry. He sheathed his sword. He looked at the spot where the ship had vanished. He's not dead, Sasuke said. I can still feel him. He's just, far away. He turned to the survivors. We rebuild, Sasuke commanded. And we wait. Because when he comes back. Sasuke smiled, a rare, genuine smile. He's going to be late, and he's going to be hungry. Chapter 10, The Eventuality. The silence of space was not empty. It was heavy. It pressed against the hull of the hive with the weight of 1 billion light-years of nothingness. Naruto Uzumaki sat in the center of the command deck. The room was a vast sphere of white light, humming with the processed data of 1,000 conquered worlds. He sat in the captain's chair, a throne of sleek, shifting metal that had molded itself to his body. He wasn't wearing his tattered ninja clothes anymore. The ship's automated systems had synthesized a new outfit for him, a long coat of matte black material woven with purple threads of data, high-collared and durable. It looked regal. It looked lonely. System check, Naruto said. His voice didn't echo, it was absorbed instantly by the walls. Core integrity, 100%, a disembodied voice replied. It wasn't the boy avatar anymore. It was Naruto's own voice, synthesized back at him. Trajectory, geostationary orbit established. Cloaking, active, Naruto sighed, leaning his head back. How long has it been? 6 months, 12 days, 4 hours since departure from surface, 6 months, Naruto whispered. He looked at the main view screen. It showed the planet below. A swirling marble of blue and white. It looked so fragile from up here. Like a glass ornament that could shatter if he breathed on it too hard. He could go back. The engines were repaired. The hive was under his complete control. He had spent the last half-year wrestling with the ship's operating system, rewriting the draconian, preservation protocols, with his own chaotic, human logic. He had deleted the conquer directives and replaced them with protect. But he hesitated. He looked at his hands. They were trembling slightly. When he closed his eyes, he didn't see the dark. He saw the code of the cosmos. He saw the gravitational tethers holding the moon in place. He saw the solar radiation stripping atoms off the atmosphere. He had absorbed the hive's database. He knew everything. He knew how to cure cancer. He knew how to build a fusion reactor. He knew the history of civilizations that had died 1,000,000 years ago. If I go down there, Naruto thought, I'm not Naruto anymore. I'm a cheat code. He feared that if he landed, the sheer weight of his presence would warp the world again. He feared he would become Ishmael, a being so far above humanity that he couldn't help but try to fix them. Incoming transmission, the system chimed. Source, surface. Encryption, Uchiha pattern. Naruto sat up straight. Patch it through. The screen flickered. Static danced, then resolved into a grainy, black and white image. Sasuke Uchiha. He looked older. His hair was longer, covering his rinnagan eye. He was sitting in a dimly lit room, holding a radio mic. Naruto, Sasuke said. He didn't ask if Naruto was there. He knew. Hey, Sasuke, Naruto said. He forced a grin, though no one could see it. How's the reception down there? Terrible, Sasuke said dryly. The daimyo keeps trying to tax the bandwidth. We're rebuilding the network. A pause. The distance between them felt infinite. Are you coming home? Sasuke asked quietly. I don't know, Naruto admitted. Sasuke. I have this ship. I have an army of drones in stasis. I have the knowledge of the universe. If I come down, I change everything. People will worship me, or they'll try to kill me. There's no in-between. Sasuke leaned closer to the mic. The village is rebuilt, Sasuke said. The Ichiraku stand is open. Tuchi kept your bowl. He washes it every day. Naruto felt a lump in his throat. Hinata waits by the crater every morning, Sasuke continued, his voice softening. She doesn't pray. She just talks to the sky. She told me to tell you that if you don't come down soon, she's coming up there to drag you down by your ear. Naruto laughed. It was a wet, broken sound. Yeah. She would. The world doesn't need a god, Naruto, Sasuke said, cutting to the heart of the matter. Ishmael tried to be a god. Kaguya tried to be a god. They failed because they stood above us. Sasuke's eye visible on the screen bored into Naruto's soul. We need the idiot who paints the Hokage monument. Come home. The transmission cut. Naruto sat in the silence for a long time. He looked at the planet. He looked at the hive, this massive weapon of mass destruction that he was using as a clubhouse. Computer, Naruto said. Command, eject the core. Warning. Ejecting the core will result in critical system failure. The hive superstructure will lose cohesion. The ship will burn up in the atmosphere. I know, Naruto said. He stood up. Keep the stasis pods for the captured worlds in orbit. Keep the automated defenses active to protect the planet from other auditors. But the ship, the weapon, destroy it. And you, Administrator? Naruto walked to the airlock. He put his hand on the release lever. I'm going to take the scenic route. Command accepted. Detonation in T-60 seconds, Naruto pulled the lever. The airlock opened. The vacuum of space didn't suck him out violently, he controlled the pressure. He stepped out into the void. He floated there, a speck of dust against the backdrop of the stars. Behind him, the hive began to glow. The white pyramid turned red, then fractured. It collapsed inward, imploding into a harmless sphere of debris that would form a new ring around the planet. Naruto didn't look back. He let gravity take him. He began to fall. The surface, the new Konoha was different now. The layout was more open, the buildings reinforced with chakra-conductive steel. The Hokage monument had been repaired, though Tsunade's face looked a bit sterner than before. It was noon. The village was bustling. Hinata Hyuga stood on the balcony of the Hyuga estate. She was the clan head now. Her father had retired after the war, weary and aging. She wore the traditional robes, but she had abandoned the rigid, enclosed style of the past. Her sleeves were tied back, ready for work. She felt it before she saw it. A pressure. Not a malicious one. Just a sudden displacement of the sky. She looked up. A streak of purple fire was cutting through the clouds. It wasn't a meteor. Meteors burned orange. This was chakra. He's here, she whispered. She didn't run. She jumped. She leaped over the railing, bounding across the rooftops with the grace of a cat. Alert! Unidentified object entering airspace. The sirens began to wail. Belay that order. Kakashi's voice boomed over the speakers. He was standing on the roof of the Hokage tower, reading his book, though his eye was fixed on the sky. Let him land. The purple streak didn't aim for the village. It aimed for the outskirts. The valley of the end. Boom. The impact shook the ground for miles. Birds took flight from every tree in the land of fire. The valley of the end, the waterfall was gone. The statues of Madara and Hashirama were gone, obliterated in the war. There was only a massive lake now, and a jagged cliff face. Steam rose from the center of the lake. The water was boiling. Naruto stood on the surface of the water. He was smoking. His black space coat was tattered at the edges. His hair was longer, wilder. He took a step. The water rippled. He looked at the shore. An army was waiting for him. Not an army to fight him. An army of witnesses. The 5 Kage stood at the front. Behind them, thousands of ninja from every nation. The samurai of iron. The monks of the fire temple. They were silent. They stared at the man who had fallen from the stars. Naruto walked toward them. He didn't float. He walked. The Raikage stepped forward. His arms were crossed. So, the Raikage grunted. The alien returns. Did you come to rule us, Uzumaki? Naruto stopped 10 feet from the shore. He looked at the Kage. He looked at the fear in the eyes of the younger ninja. I'm not an alien, old man, Naruto said. His voice was raspy from disuse. And I'm not a ruler. You possess the power of the hive, Gaara said softly, stepping up beside the Raikage. We sensed the ship destroyed. You absorbed the data, didn't you? Yeah, Naruto admitted. He tapped his head. It's all in here. Coordinates to 1,000 worlds. Blueprints for weapons that can crack suns. The crowd murmured. Fear rippled through them. Then you are a threat, that Tsuchikage said, floating up. No one man should hold that power. Naruto smiled. It was a tired smile. You're right. He raised his hand. Seal. He formed a hand sign. A complex, glowing seal appeared on his own forehead. It burned into his skin, then faded. I just locked the data, Naruto said. I encrypted it with a key that splits into 9 parts. I can't access the weapon codes anymore. Who has the keys? Tsunade asked, eyes narrowing. The tailed beasts, Naruto said. They're reforming across the world now. If you want to build a sun crusher, you'll have to ask Kurama and his brothers for permission. And you know how grumpy he gets. The tension in the air snapped. Someone chuckled. Naruto stepped onto the solid ground. The crowd parted. Sasuke was standing there. He was leaning against a rock, his sword at his hip. Show off, Sasuke muttered. Missed you too, bastard, Naruto grinned. Then, she was there. Hinata pushed past Sasuke. She stopped in front of Naruto. She was breathing hard, her face flushed. Naruto's grin faded. He looked at her. She looked beautiful. She looked real. Naruto started. I'm sorry I took so long. Traffic in orbit was, slap. The sound echoed across the valley. Naruto blinked, holding his cheek. The crowd gasped. The god of chaos, the savior of worlds, just got slapped by the Hyuga heiress. You idiot, Hinata said, tears streaming down her face. You absolute idiot. Naruto softened. I know. Hinata grabbed the collar of his space coat and pulled him down. She kissed him. It wasn't a tentative, shy kiss. It was a claim. It was an anchor. It told everyone watching, the Kaguya, the samurai, the gods potentially watching from deep space, that this man belonged to the earth. Naruto stiffened, then melted. He wrapped his arms around her, burying his face in her hair. He smelled lavender and rain. He smelled home. When they broke apart, Hinata didn't let go of his hand. Don't you ever leave the atmosphere again, she threatened. Yes, ma'am, Naruto whispered. The summit of the New Age 2 days later, the summit was convened. Not in the land of iron, but in Konoha. The daimyos were there. They were nervous. They sat on one side of the table, sweating in their silks. Naruto sat at the head of the table. He wasn't wearing Kage robes. He was wearing his orange tracksuit, a new one, sewn by Hinata. It was a statement. I am still me. Lord Uzumaki, the fire daimyo began, wringing his hands. We have prepared the papers. The title of Supreme Guardian is yours. You will have jurisdiction over all borders. A palace in the capital. Tributes from the nations. Naruto poked at his ramen bowl with chopsticks. Pass. Pass. The earth daimyo sputtered. This is absolute power. We are offering you the world. I don't want the world, Naruto said, slurping a noodle. I have a mortgage to pay on my apartment. Do you know how much interest accumulates in 6 months? Sasuke, standing behind Naruto's chair, rolled his eye. The point, Kakashi interjected smoothly, is that Naruto declines the position of emperor. But the power. The lightning daimyo slammed his fist on the table. He is a walking nuclear deterrent. He cannot just be a ninja. He must be regulated. He must be part of the hierarchy. Naruto set his chopsticks down. The sound was soft, but the room went dead silent. Naruto looked up. His eyes were blue again. But deep in the pupil, if you looked closely, the purple rings of chaos still shifted lazily. I am not a deterrent, Naruto said. Quietly. And I am not a king. He stood up. The hierarchy is what brought Kaguya. It's what brought Ishmael. They looked down on us. They thought they knew better. Naruto walked to the window. He looked out at the village. He saw children playing ninja. He saw builders repairing a roof. I am a shinobi, Naruto said. A ninja endures. A ninja protects from the shadows. I will protect this world. If Ishmael comes back, I'll be there. If a meteor falls, I'll catch it. He turned back to the daimyos. But I will not rule. People need to make their own mistakes. That's how we grow. He pointed a thumb at himself. I'm going to be the Hokage one day. Not because I'm a god. But because the people choose me. The daimyos looked at each other. They saw that there was no moving him. Very well, the fire daimyo sighed, wiping his forehead. But, can we at least get a photo for the press? Naruto grinned, the fox whiskers on his cheeks stretching. Sure. But it'll cost you. I'm saving up for a ring. Sasuke smirked. Hinata, standing by the door as a guard, turned bright red. The epilogue 3 months later. It was dawn. The sun was cresting over the Hokage monument. The stone faces glowed in the amber light. Naruto sat on the top of the fourth Hokage's head, his father's head. He wasn't meditating. He wasn't training. He was eating a popsicle. Sasuke sat next to him, staring out at the village. Peace is boring, Sasuke noted. Boring is good, Naruto said, biting off a chunk of ice. Boring means no one is dying. Boring means I can sleep past 6 a.m. You never sleep past 6 a.m., Sasuke countered. True. Hinata wakes me up for training. She's ruthless, Sasuke. Since the war, she's invented a new gentle fist technique called wake up or die. Sasuke chuckled. A rare sound. You changed the world, Naruto. We changed it, Naruto corrected. No, Sasuke shook his head. You changed us. You took the chaos, the thing everyone feared, and you made it warm. Naruto looked at his hand. He summoned a small sphere of the chaos chakra. It wasn't violent anymore. It purred. It was the energy of creation, not destruction. The auditors, Naruto said, looking at the sky. They're still out there. Metatron. The others. Let them come, Sasuke said, touching the hilt of his sword. We have the data now. We know how to fight them. Yeah. Footsteps approached. Hinata climbed up onto the monument. She was holding a basket. Breakfast, she announced. Rice balls. And tomatoes for Sasuke-kun. Sasuke accepted the tomato with a nod of gratitude. Hinata sat on Naruto's other side. She leaned her head on his shoulder. What were you talking about? She asked. Just the future, Naruto said. Is it scary? Naruto looked at the village below. He saw the academy students running to class. He saw Sakura walking to the hospital. He saw Shikamaru playing shogi with his dad's ghost in the park. He looked at the sky, where the stars were fading into the blue of the day. The universe was vast. It was cold. It was full of auditors and gods and monsters who wanted to edit reality into a perfect, silent equation. But down here it was loud. It was messy. It was full of love and ramen and arguments and laughter. Naruto squeezed Hinata's hand. He bumped shoulders with Sasuke. No, Naruto smiled, his eyes reflecting the rising sun. It's not scary. He took a deep breath of the morning air. The world doesn't need a god. It just needs us. The end.
I hope you guys like the video. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe my channel. Till then, take care.